Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Woo! Here we are, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. By the way, G, you and I look like I'm fatter than you, but you and I look even wider when Mike's on the set.
Yeah.
Because look at go to the 3-shot there. Is that what's called a 3-shot?
Yeah.
How many people are in the shot?
3 people.
2.5.
All right,
There you go.
Look at Mike.
2.5.
I mean, Mike is so skinny.
Bro, I ain't that skinny.
Dude, what are you talking about?
Hey,
Well, no offense, but like in comparison to you two, yes, I look very skinny. But
you're the skinniest person on the show.
you can still see some of
That's
his chair. Like in between
Right,
his legs,
yeah.
there's chair available. There's no chair available.
No.
Hey, this is all body.
I got the front pouch. I mean, everything's happening.
no, that's a bad visual.
White
Stop that.
screen.
I don't like that, Steve.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't like
it's
that.
Fat Mike.
Is there the opposite?
Oh, Fat Mike again.
Can we put the opposite effect on Bull? Can we
Oh,
do
my God.
the 0.5?
Yeah, can we do that? Can we get
That
a
point-
skinny version of me? Can you make me look thin there?
That
Steve,
point-
is that possible? Hey, not really. No.
Like
It's the thinnest Bull's ever been.
Oh, good
No
job.
offense, Bull. Love
Good
you,
job.
man.
Oh, wow.
All right, let's get back to this.
Yes,
is throwing me
lots
off.
to get to today, including, by the way, we have a big announcement coming next week, or maybe the week after.
Hopefully next week. We have
sometime in
Yes.
the next 13 days.
this
Huge
better
announcement.
be
There's
huge.
a huge
Y'all been teasing the heck out of this.
And we got another
Sometime
big
in the next-
announcement we'll get to today, but
Yeah.
the big one we're
But the
saving.
big
for-
announcement, sometime in the next 13 days, we've got a really big announcement for all the fans of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. But we do have a big announcement today. Mikey, why don't you share it?
There it is.
Yeah, so we launched this show last May. And Tegna, the company that owns Channel 3, that owns us, that owns dozens of stations across the country, and they wanted to get into the digital sports realm. And we launched this with the expectations to see, can this work? Can you build an audience? Will people come if you put out good content? And, you know, it was a slow burn. We exceeded year one expectations. We did awesome. But August was a particularly special month for us because for the first time in the history of the show, and just the second time in all of Locked On's networks, we eclipsed 1 million views. Let me say it again. 1 million views
Thank
in
you,
1
everybody.
month. To give you a little context, because
Yeah.
1 million is an easy number to grasp,
Yeah.
there's a lot of YouTube channels out there, right? A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
0.4% have ever done 1 million views in a month. That puts us in the 99.6 percentile.
Yeah.
And it's because of you guys. Seriously, like, we can't do this without you guys watching,
That's
tuning
right.
in every day. We love you. We thank you. And as I said on Twitter, this is the preseason. The regular season starts
Yeah.
in 2 weeks.
We're like a bit.
To the
we're
moon.
We're like
1
the
million.
Elon Musk of YouTube now, right? Like we've gotten in that stratosphere of the top 0.4%. And it's all because of the fans. We have a great following. We are so appreciative. When this show signed on May 9th, 2022, there were a lot of snickering going on from other media members, traditional media members, calling us a little YouTube show, saying we'd be gone in a few months. I heard a lot of that.
I did too.
And
I heard you're crazy for doing this. Why
Yeah.
are you going to leave a real TV job?
Tegna had
to
never
do
done
that?
this before, and we couldn't be more excited about the success we've had. But as much as I like to bust some of the fans' balls all the time, that's what I do to people I love. I bust balls.
Yeah, that's
and we are so appreciative of fans. In fact, I went to get my grilled cheese, as I've been getting in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, before you say,
Yeah.
Bull comes in and eats grilled cheese and tomato soup like 4 days a week.
I've never eaten tomato soup.
What
I
soup
don't
do
know
you?
what you're
What kind of
talking
soup do
about.
you have?
First of all, I didn't have any soup today.
But a lot of times you bring
Second
soup.
of all, I've
What
never
kind of
had
soup do you bring in?
A variety of soups, but I don't like tomato soup.
All right, well,
so-
either way,
yeah.
Bull at 10:15 in the morning is eating grilled cheese and soup.
I have only had soup with my grilled cheese twice, by the way.
Before
Here
11.
or in life?
Here, like right
No,
in that
I
seat.
eat soup all the time. But here, I've only brought in soup twice.
It's just an outrageous pre-lunch meal. Is grilled cheese.
You know, it's my breakfast. I eat shrimp for breakfast. I eat whatever. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
fair. All right, so
But
sorry.
I
You're
gotta
getting
say, I
grilled
met
cheese.
this guy. So I'm walking out of the grilled cheese place. It's called Susie Soups. Remember they used to be in the Halley building? They used to
Yes.
have like a little stand.
It's good. I like that
Now
place.
Susie
Yeah.
Soups. It's right on East 12th and
I'm still not great with the street
and
names.
I can't remember what street it's on, but it's near some hotel.
It's downtown.
Yeah, downtown. And I come out of this. So I go there. I park at the meter, but I never put money in the meter because I'm usually in and out 5 minutes. I never have any change on me. Otherwise, I throw a quarter in. So I walk out of the restaurant. I was there for maybe 8 minutes, and I see this ticket on my car. And I'm like, oh, bleep. And so, and all of a sudden, as I walk to the car, I'm saying, I'm cursing, I'm doing all this stuff. And some guy in the next car to me goes, hey, are you Adam the Bull? And I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I heard you cursing and yelling. And so
Very distinct.
I recognized your voice. He goes, dude, I am the biggest fan. You and G. Bush are the best. His name is Julian McClellan. He was there with his 4-year-old son. Julian is from the city of Cleveland. He happened to be parked next to me. Guy, by the way, smart guy too. He knows his football. He says he's worried about the way the Browns are going to use Elijah Moore. He says he's not as big as Deebo Samuel, and he's worried that Elijah Moore is going to get hurt being used in that role. And he says Marquise Goodwin is not going to be a big factor, and he's worried that Deshaun Watson doesn't have a speed receiver. But he loves the Browns. He loves the show. And, Julian, shout out to you, man. It was great to meet you today.
And you know what's so great about this, McNuggets? You know, you said something about other people saying it's a YouTube thing. What you guys will notice around the internet is you're going to start noticing, you know, some of these traditional outlets now have YouTube channels.
That's right.
They now have some of the same, and you know, we were the first to the market. So, you know, we encourage you to just understand that we were the forefathers of this thing and continue to support us as other people flood into the market, because this to try to replicate what we've done.
Can I do a visual meme real quick?
Yeah, please.
We had Brian Windhorst on the show. Mm-hmm. When Brian Windhorst was alluding to the, I wonder why trade with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and he did the famous point back.
Yeah.
Some other traditional outlets in the city now dabbling in YouTube.
Yeah, wonder why.
Visual meme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can Photoshop that right next to Brian Windhorst.
There you go. Hopefully that'll go as viral as that one. That would be good.
Yeah, definitely not. That one was stupid.
But
yeah, I wonder why. I just wonder why.
They were never doing it before.
A little YouTube show.
And somebody responded to me, well, it's not you guys, it's Pat McAfee. Well, Pat McAfee, who's great and did get this going nationally, he's been around a while, and nobody was doing it here until we did.
Pat's awesome. Pat's
awesome.
Well, actually, if you go way back, there's even with Pat McAfee, the format of having a panel of people or multiple people.
Yeah.
That's something that I don't think has been done.
That's true. Anyway,
thank you to you guys. Yeah,
thanks to all the fans that helped us got to 1 million views this month.
A million plus, by the way.
$1 million plus, that's right.
$1 million plus.
Over 1 million views, and we're about to hit 10 million views since we went on the air.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I think getting from 10 to 20 will be a lot quicker than we got from 1 to 10.
I agree.
So
from
too.
0
I
to
agree.
10. So thank you all so much. As now, coming up on today's show, we have the return of Fence Riders.
Yep. Yep.
That's today. Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com, is going to be on with us today. 9 days before the Browns play their first game of the regular season. Jay Stevens from Locked On Buckeyes. He'll join us late in the show. We'll preview the Buckeyes' first game. So a lot to get into, guys. We'll bring in Anthony, who is producing today. Anthony, how are you?
Hey, everybody. I just want to I was going to remind everybody about some stuff, but we got a bunch of Super Chats already to start off the show.
Okay.
One
Let's do it.
From Devoid Archangel. Reminder for anybody nervous or anxious about Burrow playing day one. He's 1-4 versus the Browns with a worse roster. So he's out there sipping the Kool-Aid.
Fact.
That is true.
Our boy Skilly, who usually gifts 20 memberships at a time, says, hell yeah, amazing work. Hell of a job from you guys. Now everybody just needs to smash that like button so we can beat that record.
Big facts.
There it is. Big time.
Facts.
Shout out to you.
Skilly.
And then Cody Clark and KR Thunder both gifted 5 memberships each. So thank you, everybody, for your support. As we get into our first topic here today, you guys are all awesome. And Bull, our first topic, Deshaun Watson got voted a captain. Nick Chubb didn't. What do we feel?
Yeah, I don't think this is a big deal at all. I mean, I don't know. I can't. You know, it's important for the quarterback to be the captain of the team. I don't know how Nick Chubb feels. If he's offended in any way that he didn't get picked to be a captain, he's obviously not a vocal guy. And I think you knew that Deshaun Watson was going to be a captain this year. I don't think anything negative of it. I guess if I knew for a fact that Nick Chubb was angry about it, then maybe I'd feel differently, but I would be surprised if that were the case. Mike?
Can we split this into two conversations real quick? And not for clips, this is one clip, but just let's do the Watson side and then let's get to the Chubb side. But let's start with Watson real quick.
Yeah.
If you look at the best teams in football, there is an undisputed leader on each of those teams. Chiefs, Mahomes, Bills, Allen, Ravens, Lamar, Chargers, Herbert, Eagles, Hurts. The best quarterbacks are always the face of a franchise. That's not questionable.
Yeah.
For the Browns to reach that category, Deshaun Watson has to be the face of this franchise. And to start, you become a captain. He took the team to Puerto Rico. He's been the leader of all the offseason gatherings of these offensive playmakers. He is the guy that if the Browns are going to reach the heights we believe they can reach, is the guy that has to play the best on this team to allow them to compete with the Mahomes, the Burrows, the Allens, the rest of the teams with elite quarterbacks in the NFL. If the quarterback's not a captain, it's an issue.
Right.
If he is a captain, it's the standard. And now the Browns are in line with the other top teams in the NFL, which is where they need to be entering the season. He should be a captain. He was voted a captain. He deserves to be a captain. And if he wasn't, I'd be concerned. The fact that he is, good.
No doubt. If his teammates did not vote him a captain, that would be a major
It'd be a real
flag.
issue.
Well,
I don't look at it as a red flag that Nick Chubb wasn't the captain. I feel like he was last year. And in a way, my guess is he was like, hey, the quarterback's got to be the captain. I'm voting for him. I bet Nick Chubb voted for him. I don't know. What do you think, G?
Before we go real quick, the other captains, just so everyone knows, in case you missed that, it's Watson, Bitonio, Myles Garrett, Charley Hughlett, and Anthony Walker. Those are the five captains.
And there'll be a sixth
and
rotating
a sixth game captain. Sorry, G. All you know.
Oh, no, you good, man.
Just want to make sure people are on the same page.
I get all kind of alerts and different things all the time. And so this alert came from, a news publication. And anytime somebody mentions the Cleveland Browns, it's set to show me the article. So this one is from Fansided by a guy named Mark Powell. And this came out yesterday. And it says in the headline, Cleveland Browns' latest Deshaun Watson decision is absolutely classless.
To make him a captain?
Yes.
Get the you-know-what out of here.
The Cleveland Browns elevated Deshaun Watson to team captain, which is an awful look given the history of his sexual assault allegations. He goes on to say, when they acquired Watson via the trade, the Browns made it clear that the talent far exceeded the risk that came with the allegations against him. Yes, we are a country of second chances, but Watson's financial slap on the wrist for dozens of heinous allegations doesn't really qualify as punishment. And he goes on to finish this conversation by itself, saying teams naming their starting quarterback a captain is to be expected in modern NFL. Even in Watson's case, it doesn't make it any less disgusting, though.
Who wrote the article? What was the name of the author?
From Fansided, Mark Powell.
Let's make a pact right now as a show to never talk about anything Mark Powell writes again.
I don't even know who this guy is.
In the history of
really
his
know what
career.
Fansided is. I don't really pay much attention to it.
I just, I bring this up because, there's going to be a lot of reaching. Like, the Cleveland Browns are starting the season, and obviously Deshaun Watson was always going to be the captain. And it's almost telegraphed. It's almost already a thing written in stone that every single step that they take, like Bobby Brown, see what I did right there?
Nice.
They're going to be detractors that are saying this is the most classless thing. This is the Cleveland Browns organization. When you talk about it, and Kevin Stefanski has quotes, and he has quotes in there from Kevin Stefanski. He quotes Kevin Stefanski and saying why it is that he has done this. Deshaun is very, very natural for him to lead, Stefanski said, and I think he's comfortable leading from out front. I think he's comfortable from leading and letting his teammates get credit. That's just something he's always done in his whole life, and it's just the way he's integrated himself into the football team, and it is impressive to watch. So, obviously, Deshaun Watson is a leader, and this is a team vote. The team voted on this.
Yeah.
It's a group of his peers. So naturally, with that being said, if your peers vote you, How is it the Cleveland Browns are in trouble with it?
I think it's just one guy.
It's
I
his
don't think
teammates.
is that much being made about it? This is just one random Joe on fan side.
It is a random Joe, but
Yeah.
there was there's that undertow to it, right? We talked about Deshaun Watson not going to get much credit, and he's not going to be winning any awards anytime soon because there are people who believe really crazy stuff like this. Like, how is this crazy, outrageous, and heinous? Like, captains happen. There's been people who are generals, who are guys who may have sullied reputations, but they're still generals. They're still leading other people in their craft, and that happens to be on the field in football.
By the way, our executive producer just texted us and said Mark Powell is a Pittsburgh-based journalist.
Yeah. Oh, shocker.
Oh,
Totally shocked.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When
Thank you, Steve.
You know
Give
what?
me that intel.
To me, I don't care about any of that. I don't care. I don't care. Like, I'm not worried about whether or not Deshaun Watson's going to win an award. Let's play the season first, and then complain about those things if they happen. This guy's just one guy on the internet. You're never going to win with everybody. All right. Deshaun Watson. He talked about Deshaun Watson didn't face a penalty. He did. He wasn't convicted of any crimes.
And was still suspended 11 games.
He was still suspended of 11 games. He's paid his debt to the NFL if there ever was something legitimately like that. I think the story is old and tired, and
Screw this guy.
who cares? Who cares if that guy?
When Deshaun Watson came out of Clemson, he was in the same draft class as Mahomes and Trubisky. Trubisky was the guy with the highest upside. Mahomes had the guy with the crazy arm. Watson was the intangibles guy. Go back to his days in high school.
Yeah.
State champion, 3-time captain. National championship at Clemson, 2-time captain.
Yeah.
In Houston, made the playoffs, not a ton of playoff success. 2-time captain in Houston.
Yeah.
The guy throughout his entire football career has been the catalyst to which his teammates rally around. To me, last season, he couldn't have been a captain with everything else going on. This season, it was a no-brainer. And I don't know if we'll ever get the results. Like, we could ask Mary Kay if she knows the voting structure of how the players voted.
Right.
We get the Hall of Fame votes in baseball. Guys who should be unanimous may not necessarily be unanimous. I know the one guy didn't vote for Derek Jeter because he didn't think any player should be a unanimous Hall of Famer.
Lost his vote.
I agree. So who knows if it was unanimous
Derek Jeter
or not?
should not have been the first unanimous player.
But you get my point. You get my point. In this vote, to pick by the players who should be the Browns' 5 captains this season, it should have been unanimous that Deshaun Watson was one of those 5.
Honestly, it's real. In a way, it's even silly that we need to have a conversation about this at all. Of course, he's going to be a captain.
He's the quarterback.
He's the freaking quarterback, and that's the end of the conversation. And if you want to get up on your high horse and whine about it, then go do it. No, most people don't care what you have to say.
Do you think, real quick, do you think any team in the league, because like Brissett was a captain last year, wasn't he?
I don't remember.
No.
I don't think so.
Was he not?
No, the captains were Chubb, Myles Garrett, Bitonio.
I think Chubb and Bitonio were the offensive captains.
Yeah.
Okay, so last year may have been the weird anomaly exception.
He's not a legit starting quarterback.
Of the 32 teams this year,
yeah.
how many do you think don't have their starting quarterback as a captain?
All the teams with legitimate starters,
Maybe
the guy's
rookies.
the quarterback.
Maybe
Rookies or
CJ
like the
Stroud,
journeyman
right.
quarterbacks.
So like
Maybe
Josh Dobbs won't be a captain in
Maybe
Arizona
Baker's
this year.
not going to be a captain. I don't
Sam
know.
Howell might not be a captain.
Guys like that. But any
So let's-
established starter is going to be a captain.
Let's say 24 to 32 of the quarterbacks,
Probably
give
somewhere
or take.
around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's not at this stage of his career, like you said, it's an issue.
Yeah.
The fact that he is to be expected, and it's what should be the case.
And by default, Nick Chubb, his personality and demeanor doesn't jump up and scream, "I'm a captain." That's not who he is. Like, he's a very introspective guy. He leads by example more. He does not do interviews. You don't hear him saying very much. The fact that when you are the quarterback and you are in Cleveland, and I think this is huge for everybody to understand. Deshaun Watson is on face value a top 5 quarterback.
Skill set, talent-wise,
Skill set.
unquestionably.
There has never
Unquestionably.
been a person with that level of talent. And with that level of talent is going to come a level of
What do you mean there's
scrutiny.
never been a person? In Cleveland, you mean?
No, there hasn't been a quarterback with that talent level in Cleveland.
Oh,
In Cleveland.
Yeah. Right, I agree, yes.
So like, kind of like when you look at other places, like we haven't had that scrutiny. Like in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow takes all the questions, right? Josh Allen takes all the questions. If they got a problem with Stephon Diggs and Josh, guess what Josh Allen has to do? He has to manipulate that and work it out. So right now, you want your quarterback doing that because you don't want other people having to answer for a quarterback, and they are the most important person on the field.
Right.
On the flip side, let's talk about Nick Chubb here for a second. Nick Chubb was not voted a captain by his teammates. He was a captain last season. And I'll start real quick. I frankly don't think Nick Chubb cares about anything in this world besides rushing for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday. Last night, Spectrum and ESPN blacked out the Utah-Florida game at kickoff. Nick Chubb doesn't care. He's thinking about scoring touchdowns. There's a hunger strike going on somewhere because they cut down a tree. Nick Chubb doesn't care. He cares about scoring touchdowns.
He cares about trees. Why would you say he wouldn't care about trees?
Because all Nick Chubb cares about is running for 120 yards,
yeah,
scoring touchdowns, and winning football games. He is the epitome of a pro's pro. And I frankly don't think he cares. But, do we really need a special teams captain? Like, Charley Hughlett, I understand. You can pull it up. Like, Charley Hughlett has been the longest tenured Brown. He's been here since 2014. Long snapper. Awesome. Cool. Charley Hughlett. Great. But do we really need Charley Hughlett to be a captain over Nick Chubb?
Not necessarily, but it's just showing that there's an emphasis on special teams and that you put a importance level on it by putting a captain from special teams.
What do you think?
I don't give a rat's ass, honestly. I think the whole captain conversation is stupid. All that matters is the quarterback is the captain. I don't care if Charley Hughlett or Nick Chubb are captains. I don't think I don't really care about Charley. I mean, like Charley Hughlett. Does anybody give a crap about Charley Hughlett?
No, and to prove your point, that wasn't Charley Hughlett. I put a picture of a random Browns player from 2018. That was Kyle Carless on the screen. And YouTube didn't know. This is Charley Hughlett. No, that's Carl Carless. Let's see the real Charley Hughlett now. That's the fake Charley Hughlett. That's Charley Hughlett.
I had no idea.
And YouTube didn't even know.
Didn't even know.
So if y'all didn't know a captain of the Brown by face value, Nick Chubb should be a captain by default.
That was a good one.
You like that?
They should have made a third. Yeah, I mean, that was well done.
Thank you.
You left him hanging.
Yeah, no.
Oh, my fault. Yeah, that was a good one. That was it.
I mean, but like the reality is, who cares?
Like, dang,
I don't think Nick Chubb cares, but a long snapper as a captain, I get you have a special teams captain, I get it, but if it's let's make the special teamers happy, or if Nick Chubb, like, give it to Nick Chubb. Now, why not have 3 and 2 as opposed to 2-2-1?
So hold on. So we gotta get this together. So because there's another thing that happened last night with these blackouts. I didn't know that Spectrum had blacked out Utah, Florida.
I was so pissed.
But do you know? Do
you have Spectrum?
No,
I do have Spectrum.
Did you know DirecTV blacked out Minnesota versus I believe it was Iowa?
On what channel?
It was on Fox. And
they better get that straight.
Hey, hold on. And they tried to tell me with a list of things going down the list.
Yeah.
Talking about, well, it's going to affect the Bengals, the Browns, all Ohio State, and it says they're working it out and trying to figure because they raised the rates and our contract was up in August, late July, and I'm like, look, bro. I can't watch. I'm trying to watch this Minnesota game, and that it didn't really matter. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see some Big Ten, and it was in 4K. I'm going to watch it. But I said, Browns? I said, bro, shout out to DirecTV. If y'all don't get that squared away,
I'm switching.
We switching immediately.
I got to switch to YouTube TV anyway.
The
only reason I haven't switched yet is because they don't have the Guardians games.
Yep, and that's it, or the Cavs games. And the only reason I was messing with y'all is because y'all got Bally's. So I will switch it to heartbeat.
You lost Sunday ticket. I got to get the Sunday ticket, so I got to go to
YouTube. Now you can't have one package and get it all. You either have Bally's or you have like you can't have both now. You have to have 2 different cable services to watch these teams in the same city. It's absurd. It's ludicrous.
Crazy.
I'm not paying all that.
Crazy. Go ahead, Anthony. Give us a read, will you?
Yeah, real quick, guys. So I put out a poll, and whenever we do a poll, it's brought to you by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. In all locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions at $18 and up. Plus, get full benefit package, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. So I put a poll out there and asking if our audience cared about the Nick Chubb captain. Overwhelming majority said no. However, we got a super chat from our very own Earl the Pearl asking who would the 5 UCSS captains be out of all of us?
We can't have 5 captains. That's too many.
All right, fine. We'll go with 3.
I mean,
Because 5 is basically the whole
who should be
staff
the
according
captains, Mike, of the show?
I mean, do we need an offensive, a defensive, and a special teams?
I guess.
Well, I mean, the reality is, if we're doing captains, like we have a big 3, the OG big 3,
Yeah.
you 2 and Jay.
Yeah.
I would say you 3. I'm assuming we can't pick, like, you mean for like the panelists, right? Are we going?
I
Production?
don't know. Earl
This
asked
was
the
just Earl's question. So, Earl, you can text Mike and I if you want to elaborate on the question. But somebody in chat said if it's based off of trade proposals, Earl's not making captain.
Earl's not feeling good. He's
Yeah.
still not feeling well. He's back at home. But he did say at the end of the show, if we have time, he wants to call in and go over his trade proposal from yesterday.
I mean, I don't know why he would. That was hideous.
I will make sure we have time for that because he did not tell me that.
Yeah, I talked to him this morning.
For those who don't know, can we put that back on the screen?
You have to pull it out of yesterday's rundown. But it was DPJ and a 4th for Aaron Donald. Or DPJ and a 3rd for Aaron Donald, one of the 2.
I mean, that's crazy time.
Yeah.
You're offering them essentially a 4th
Yeah, because
round
DPJ's
pick
going to walk.
because the Rams would have no interest in DPJ.
But we'll get to that later.
They're
with
a team
Earl.
that's probably going to be starting over next year. If they're trading Aaron Donald, that means they're starting over. If they're starting over, why would they sign DPJ to an extension? And why would they need to trade for him to get that extension anyway? So it doesn't make any sense.
By the way, the fake Charley Hughlett I put on the screen.
Yeah.
Do you know who that was?
No
Do you have
clue.
any idea who that was, G?
No.
Kyle Callis started two games, 2018 at guard.
No idea.
I tried to find the
Didn't
most
even
random
remember
white
him.
guy I could find on the Browns.
That was what they
2018.
They won one game.
They had a lot of offensive line injuries that year.
Yeah, he started 2 games.
Oh my
Didn't
god.
remember.
Played
that.
in 2 games.
Just
So, guys, I have a text message here from Earl to
Okay.
update. So he wanted the entire crew, production panel, Becker, the whole everybody. He thinks Mike should be a captain 100%.
I appreciate that, Earl.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's like, I guess I just need the criteria to.
Yeah.
what is it?
I mean, Director Steve's the one that holds it all. Like, in all seriousness, Director Steve, Director Ant's coming for your chair, Steve.
Director
Director
Steve
Ant.
is like
No, I am not.
Director Steve is like the guy on the baseball team where all the players are really young,
He's David Ross on the 2016
except for
Cubs.
a couple of ornery veterans like me and Jay. And then Steve's the other older player, but he's not ornery. He's just a solid guru type of veteran
right,
that
solid
people
group.
go to.
Right.
He can get kind of ornery. I don't know, man. I'd sit
Steve's
back
ornery?
here with him.
A little bit.
Hey, no, he said, listen, he was adamant about that Kool-Aid. He was like, no, not on my set. Bull is spilling everywhere.
Me? I don't spill things.
You did almost not water down,
I
but
did,
you bought
but I
it.
saved
He
it.
did. He did catch it yesterday.
Yeah, but and then we'll take people behind the scenes a little bit. Mike and Steve got in a little, almost like a fight over the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, listen.
Me and Steve, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think you realized that Steve was very frustrated by you not wanting to leave the
I was trying to make sure
packets
nothing.
on the-
I
on
know.
the
I was trying to make
set.
sure nothing.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com is with us on this Friday. And there she is. Hi, Mary Kay. How are you?
I'm great, guys. How you doing?
Awesome.
Doing great. We're excited.
Good show.
We're very, very excited, ready for real football and not this preseason garbage. So, Mary Kay, take us through how you see the Cade York situation and what eventually led to his release. Because obviously, coaches don't tell the truth all the time. But he seemed highly confident in Cade York until he wasn't. Right after that last preseason game, at least publicly, it completely changed for Kevin Stefanski. In reality, had they been trending in that direction, or did that 4th preseason game really, that was it? What say you on that whole situation?
You know what? I think that was it. I think if he had gone out there and made the game-winning kick and made all of his kicks, and if he was hitting a true ball, I think they would have been fine. But the signs were obviously there that they cannot go into the season with him not only struggling, but really having trouble hitting a nice ball. And he had not worked through his issues. The weird part about it, obviously, was that during practice, he was seamless. He was perfect. And then he would get out there during the games, and it would just kind of fall apart for him. So that was it. That was the last straw that game for him to go out there and miss an extra point the way that he did, and then shank that last one to the point where that was, he chunked that thing. It was not going through had it not gotten blocked, and it got blocked because it was so low. So I think that was a huge issue, that just he was not hitting the ball well. He was not trending in the right direction.
Mary Kay, one of the guys that we wanted to make the team was Austin Watkins Jr. He ended up being able to be back and added on the practice squad, and I think one of the reasons that he didn't make the initial 53-man roster was the great news that Marquise Goodwin was going to be back available, ready to go. What is the update on him, and do you believe that he is trending towards possibly even playing against the Bengals, or is it going to be something down the line?
No, I think he should be able to go against the Bengals. I've been watching him practice. He looks good. Now, we're only allowed now to watch stretching and individual drills, but he's out there, running go routes and, things like that, that should enable him to get out there and play against the Bengals. And he doesn't have to play every single down on offense. That's really not how it was ever supposed to go anyways. He's a role player. He's going to go out there, Marquise is, and he's going to, at key moments, be able to stretch that defense and get behind that defense and utilize Deshaun Watson's big, strong arm and try to hit a couple of big plays. So it's actually perfect timing for everyone.
Mary Kay, you've been at all the Browns practices. You went with them to Greenbrier. You traveled with them during the preseason. Who's the one player on this team we're not talking enough about as we approach week 1 here?
Oh, that's a really good question. Let's see. Okay, the one player, what I'm going to say that we're not talking about enough is maybe like a Cedric Tillman. He looks really good for a young rookie receiver. He looks very polished. Elijah Moore has gotten all the love in training camp. Amari Cooper always gets his run. And, now we're starting to talk about Marquise Goodwin. But I think you guys can agree, we haven't heard a whole bunch about Cedric Tillman yet. And I think he's going to contribute. I think he's going to do some really, really nice things. In fact, Cedric Tillman is a reason why Austin Watkins didn't make the 53. These guys are similar in body type, and they're trying to get an eclectic mix in that room. And Ced and Austin are very similar in size and skill set to a degree. So, I would say Ced is going to get out there and probably have an opportunity to make an impact sooner than later.
I wonder, Mary Kay, and I agree with you on Cedric Tillman. I've been very impressed with him from what I've seen with him. But I wonder if there's some hesitancy from media and certainly from fans to get too excited, because that mid-round wide receiver the last 2 years with Anthony Schwartz, who's now gone, David Bell, who nobody's really high on right now, those guys have disappointed, and maybe people are nervous to get too excited about the third time being the charm.
That could be it. I remember back in the day when it was the second round receiver that was never living up to expectations for the Cleveland Browns. Now it seems to be that there are all eyes on the third round receiver. Right. But it really looks to me like there's plenty of evidence that Cedric Tillman is going to be good. He's played at a high level of competition, obviously, at Tennessee, and he just looks the part. The moment's not too big for him. It's not going to be perfect, right. But I think that he is polished and savvy enough to go out there and get some things done. And then I'll tell you what, that size, and I do see a little bit of a trend in the NFL of guys making sure that they have that big guy on their roster. And Ced is that. He is that big body guy that can go up over those smaller DBs and catch the high passes.
Mary Kay, the Browns have had a relatively healthy camp this year. I mean, everybody's pretty ready to go, except for Denzel Ward. What is the latest on him as far as you know, 9 days to go before the game? Because with Burrow now expected to play, obviously we know how dangerous the Bengals passing game is. The Browns need all hands on deck at corner. What's your expectation, and what's the latest on Denzel?
Well, the minute I knew he was in the concussion protocol, I got worried about him just like everybody else did, because this is the fourth time that he's suffered a concussion with the Cleveland Browns. And the last couple of times he was out for lengthy periods of time. Last year, it was 3 games. And when you get 1 or 2, you're more susceptible to the next one. And a lot of times it does take you a little while to get back and clear that concussion protocol. So I do think that it is a concern. And I don't know how serious this concussion is, and it is all up to the independent neurologist and how Denzel gets back to his baseline based on these tests. Nobody knows. Kevin Stefanski, I mean, you could ask Kevin Stefanski right now, completely off to the side, if you ran into him at the bank or the grocery store, and he would not have an answer for you at all because he just doesn't know. But hopefully for Denzel that this is not a serious concussion. Hopefully it was pretty mild and that he's feeling great and he'll be able to get back there on the field, not just so that they can beat the Bengals, but for his own well-being.
Sure.
Mary Kay, the day before the team reported to Greenbrier, we had Marquise Godwin on the show, and he was so excited. And then we heard the news about the blood clots, and at least personally, I thought he was done for the season. I didn't think there was any way he'd be back, especially back on the field this quickly. Is there actually a chance he plays in Week 1 against the Bengals? I know he's activated, but...
Gee, Bush just asked that question.
No, he didn't. Did you?
Well,
Are you serious?
The first,
I was texting Anthony about.
Stop texting.
I was texting about a graphic. Mary Kay, I'm so
What
sorry.
is the matter with you guys?
Anthony, back. I was texting you about a graphic. Hold on.
We don't want to hear about
did.
graphics. You got to stay focused.
I was trying to fix something. That's my
What the
Mary
hell's
Kay.
the matter with you?
Mary Kay, I'm so sorry. I was trying to fix the
Bad
graphic.
job out of us. I apologize.
I will go back and listen. That's a terrible question. I'm so sorry. I was trying to fix a graphic.
So you want it.
Oh my
That's
God.
called being a producer out on the set. That's terrible out of me, Mary
I gotta
Kay.
call you out on
Listen,
that.
Mary Kay, here's a different question. I know you didn't answer this. You did a sit-down with DeJuan Jones, and I know the picture that you tweeted out, you even mentioned you weren't wearing your platforms, and DeJuan Jones, 6'8", huge human being. I'm so sorry, G. That was a terrible question. Bad job out of me. Bad job out of me.
He's thrown off now.
But when you sat down with DeJuan Jones, he's obviously been unbelievable in the preseason, the most snaps without allowing a sack in the preseason. A, is he really as big as we all think he is, see he is, as far as his actual stature? And, you know, is he going to be the Browns' first offensive lineman to fill in case someone gets hurt this year?
well, to answer your first question, no, he's really not that big. It's just that I'm that small. So I'm way smaller than you even thought I was. I'm like 3'6" or something like that. So he's an enormous human being. He's huge, and he is just the nicest guy too. And he's had a really nice camp. I'm excited about what he's going to be able to accomplish for the Cleveland Browns because you always root and pull for the guys that you really end up liking as people. And I really enjoyed my conversation with him. I think Browns fans are really going to like what they see from DeJuan Jones over the years. And he also did switch to number 79 for the Cleveland Browns. So he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable and happy in that number. But yeah, he put a work ethic together with that massive size in training camp. And it was really cool to watch him come along the way that he did. And I haven't written the story yet. And hopefully I can buckle down and get it done in the next day or two because it was really cool to talk to him.
Is your expectation that whether it's at some point this year or next year or certainly by 2025, that both Jones and Whippler will be starters for the Buckeyes, but for the Browns?
In a perfect world, that's what they hope will happen. They really did believe that DeJuan Jones was a first-round talent, and they felt lucky to be able to get him in the fourth round. So, yes, I do think that he will be starting for them at some point. And maybe the same thing for Whippler. We'll have to see with him. That's a little bit of a different animal when you take someone a little bit later. And, you kind of have to see how that goes. But I do think that at some point you will see DeJuan Jones starting somewhere for the Browns.
Mary Kay, you tweeted out a picture with you and DeJuan Jones. Does that mean that? No, I'm just playing.
I was going to start my question with your last one, too.
No, I was locked in, so I know what question I need to ask next.
G and I are actually paying attention over here.
I was going to ask my next question. Whatever G just asked, I was going to start the next 5 seconds with that.
I don't know if they've done a good job of smoke screening this thing with the fourth defensive lineman. We know that Dalvin Thomas is going to play and start. We know that we got Zadarius Smith and obviously Myles Garrett. But it's like kind of up in the air. They went and got Shelby Harris. Jordan Elliott, fought off people during the preseason and made this roster. Maurice Hurst, is now an active roster. So Yaki Ika. Out of those guys, who do you think is going to be in that starting rotation come the first snap against the Bengals?
Well, they have some options, and it depends on what kind of front they decide to run against the Bengals when they first come out at Cleveland Browns Stadium on September 10th. They have all kinds of different options. They can put 5 down linemen out there. They can put 4 out there. They can do a number of different things. And if they want to get their best, 4 out there, maybe you go Myles, Za'Darius, Dalvin, and Obo, but there are so many different ways that you can go about it. And as you mentioned, there are some good defensive tackles that have been doing a nice job for them. Jordan Elliott can get out there. Shelby Harris, who is a very experienced veteran, can be out there, depending on how he's getting up to speed. So again, we're not allowed to watch practice anymore to the point where we know exactly who is in a starting lineup. But even if we were watching every single minute of practice, we would not know what Jim Schwartz is going to have up his sleeve to throw at the Bengals in that first game. I just will say that there's versatility on that line. Za'Darius can start at end. He can start on the inside. And a number of other guys are in that same boat. So, you can be prepared for pretty much anything.
We got the news earlier this week that Joe Burrow, he put it on Instagram that he's back. He's going to play against Cleveland. We asked the guys on the show the day after it happened, would you rather play Joe Burrow in week 1 or have him sit out and potentially have an easier win versus the Bengals? But the consensus was we want the Browns want the smoke. If they're going to beat the Bengals, you want to beat Joe Burrow. Do you think the players in that locker room have the same feeling that if they're going to play Cincinnati, especially here in Cleveland, they want to beat the guy who they know has owned the division the last 2 years?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. This is a confident Cleveland Browns team. They're so excited about their defense. They're excited about Jim Schwartz. They're excited to unleash the dogs and get them rolling forward. And of course, it would take a little bit of the wind out of the sails if they happen to beat a Bengals team without Joe Burrow. Everybody would say, oh, well, Joe didn't play. That's not what they want. They want to beat the best. They want to beat one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And, that's how they hope it goes. And, hopefully for Joe and for the Browns that he's nice and healthy and not going out there and putting himself at any kind of risk, because nobody wants that. And it should be a wild ride.
Mary Kay, the Browns announced their captains yesterday. Not surprisingly, Deshaun Watson is a captain this year. Obviously, some people are going to have beef with that. I certainly don't at this point. Do you think the team thought about that at all? And is it a big deal that Nick Chubb is not a captain? I'm guessing he doesn't care.
No, he probably doesn't care. He's had his opportunity to do it. And I think it is significant that Deshaun was voted a captain.
Yeah.
And, for other teams, it wouldn't be as significant, obviously, because a quarterback is going to be your natural leader of the offense. But for Deshaun, he missed those 11 games. He still has a lot to prove. And, he really needs to get out there and show that he is everything everybody needs and wants him to be. But he spent a lot of time this offseason bringing the guys together, hosting passing camps in Puerto Rico, Miami, Houston, other places. And he really has demonstrated that leadership, that galvanizing a team and bringing guys together. He's very good at that. Again, he has a lot to overcome in his career, perception-wise, amongst national pundits and fans and different things like that. But in his inner circle, amongst his teammates, he is well loved, well liked, and the leadership qualities have really been evident.
When obviously he played poorly in those 6 games last year. We know the talent that he has. We know how good he was in Houston. I don't think we know enough from the preseason. How, as someone who does cover the team as much as you do, Mary Kay, how confident are you that he will get back to being the player he was in Houston or somewhere close to that, as opposed to the player we saw for the last 6 games last year who didn't look anything like that?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I look out there and I watch Deshaun Watson move and throw the ball and make decisions and use his agility and his nimble feet and his legs to run and all those kinds of things that I do see an elite skill set. Actually, I've said this before and I'm not afraid to say it again. I see, Hall of Fame talent and ability. I mean, that arm is a really exceptionally talented arm. And he's just physically, really, really super elite. The problem is that it has to all come together on the field. It's got to be called right. He's got to make the right decisions. The talent around him has to be good enough. And, it all has to come together. We've seen other extremely talented quarterbacks where it didn't work out the way people hoped it would. But when I just, isolate on him, he has unbelievable athletic ability and field vision, football acumen. He's got it all. And now it's just a matter of, bringing that to the forefront, and the Browns hoping that it all comes together the way they want it to.
Mary Kay, you've been around this team for forever. You've seen multiple quarterbacks come in there. You've seen journeymen. You've seen rookies. You've seen guys who, we thought were franchise quarterbacks. Now that you said all that about Deshaun and his skill set and what you think he's able to do, what is the feeling in the locker room with the guys? Do you feel like they're more pumped, or they're more confident in what they can go out and do? Do you feel like overall the team is more together and feel like they can rally behind a guy who they have not seen this type of talent maybe here in Berea or with the Browns for a while?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, if you talk to any of these guys, if you sit down for a minute with Amari Cooper and you talk to him about Deshaun, he lights up talking about Deshaun. He told me in the locker room the other day that he's never played with a quarterback like this before. So, I thought that was really interesting and significant. And then, same thing with Elijah Moore. When you talk to him, he knows what he's working with here. Any of these guys will tell you the exact same thing. And that does make them really, really excited. And Amari's been around, so he knows. He's worked with a number of really good quarterbacks, so he knows what he's talking about. So, yes, I think that these guys are over the moon excited about what they think they can accomplish. And I also asked Deshaun Watson after the final preseason game what he thinks this can be, and he said fireworks against the Bengals. And I put a headline on that because he thinks it can be fireworks. Well, now they've got to put it all together because we've seen times in practice where, they can't score in the red zone as well as it seems like they should. But I think once they scheme it up, once they game plan, once you get David Njoku, mismatched on a cornerback over there on a corner route, once you get Marquise Goodwin behind the defense, once you get Amari and Elijah and Nick Chubb and everybody else out there, and you game plan for it, I think it should look pretty darn good.
Mary Kay, when you're in the locker room talking to players, and you've covered the Browns for as long as I've known
You've been alive.
Probably, yes. I didn't want to make any assumptions, but I know it's been a while. Of this current roster construction, the current core of this team, who are some of the guys who, may not be the Watsons, Myles Garrett, Coopers, like the big name guys, who are your favorite people to talk to? Kind of give you but not necessarily off the record, but on the record conversation. Who are your favorite guys to talk to get kind of what's really going on within the realms of the Browns locker room and the team?
Well, one thing to remember right now is there's so much turnover in NFL teams every single season. So, there are 24 new players on this 53-man roster. So every year, you have to say goodbye to, players that you may have developed a decent working relationship with, somebody that you really enjoy talking to in the locker room. Like over the years, I loved talking to Odell Beckham Jr. We just were able to get into really cool conversations about all different kinds of things. So I missed talking to him when he left. There are a lot of guys like that in that category. Of course, Joe Thomas was one of the best guys ever to talk to and deal with. Now Joel Bitonio plays that role of somebody that you can, really kind of have be the face and voice of the team, and will just kind of talk to you about anything. But there are a lot of cool guys on this team. Right now, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is very fun to talk to. Amari Cooper, he's so cerebral and smart. He's cool to talk to. Again, I mentioned Cedric Tillman earlier. So some of the young guys that they brought in are really, really neat. And then you've got, of course, guys that have been around for a while, like a Greg Newsome. He's awesome. He understands the role of the media and the jobs that we're trying to do out there. Juan Thornhill is somebody that has just come in, and he brings a new energy, and he's amazing to talk to. I mentioned earlier DeJuan Jones. I think people are going to really, really like him once they get to know him. And my goal, as it is every year, is to try to let you guys get to know these people a little bit better.
And real quick, Mary Kay, you mentioned DTR. A couple weeks, or I guess it was last week now, the Browns traded Josh Dobbs to Arizona. It had seemed that they were very comfortable with Dobbs being QB2 entering the season. Was that legitimately just a situation of Arizona calling, making an offer they couldn't refuse, and just like that, them being comfortable with DTR and moving on from Dobbs? There was no actual plan before that phone call came in that Dobbs would not be a member of this 53-man roster, right? Like, there's no way that could actually have been way they had
No,
it planned out.
not at all. You're correct about that. That absolutely 100% came out of the blue, and I think they had determined by that point that that DTR probably would end up as the number 2 at some point this season anyways, and they got something of value for Joshua Dobbs, something that they felt that they could turn into something, because they do a very nice job usually with their 5th-round picks and with their 6th-round picks. So so they felt that, why not go ahead and do this now? And and give DTR a chance to be that number 2. He's one play away. They know it's a risk. It's obviously a risk. I mean, if Deshaun Watson gets hurt in this game, think about this for a minute. You probably don't want to think about this, but DTR would be going into Pittsburgh to play on Monday Night Football against TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and company. So
let's hope not.
That would be a tall order.
Yeah.
Nobody hopes that happens, but they saw enough in DTR that they felt like they were comfortable making that trade.
Mary Kay, I just want to wrap it up with, there's so much positivity around the team right now, deservedly so. There's a lot of things we're excited about. I just wanted your take on a couple of things that had me a little nervous about the team. Obviously, linebacker, the position fell apart last year. There were a ton of injuries. And there's no proven guys. And Anthony Walker's fine, but JOK is a huge question mark. Taki coming back from the injury. The depth chart at running back behind Nick Chubb has me concerned right now, especially with Ford missing a lot of time due to injury. And then the kicker, and what kind of leash Dustin Hopkins has, is this might be a thing where we might see rotating kickers all year. What do you think about those 3 situations?
Well, we'll start with the linebacker position. I think they have what they need to get the job done as long as these guys can go out there and stay healthy. They have been so snake-bitten from an injury point at the linebacker position to the point where even poor Jordan Konashik just got hurt and is going and went on IR with a knee injury. And, he's been their consistent sort of rock at linebacker this whole entire preseason. He's really come on strong and done a nice job. So they really have to hope that Sione and Anthony Walker are really ready to go and that they can stay out there and that they can, get the job done consistently. Sione Taki is one of their best tacklers, one of their best linebackers against the run. So they should be okay there. I keep hearing from everyone that JOK is a natural fit for this Jim Schwartz defense and that he should shine and flourish in this scheme. So let's see how that goes. They've got a number of other guys there, that are kind of coming up through the pipeline and that should be pretty good. Some young guys that will start out on special teams and try to make their mark there. I think they'll be okay. We'll have to see how that goes. And then we'll move over to kicker. The thing that I asked Kevin Stefanski about yesterday and is a little bit of a concern at kicker, in addition to the fact that he's got to get up to speed so quickly here with the snap hold sequence and all of that, is the fact that he is only 15 of 30 from 50 plus. And, in the event that you need to go out there and you need to try to win that game in Cleveland Browns Stadium on Sunday, September 10th, and he's got to kick a 52-yarder to get it done, that's not his forte. So, he's going to have to find it within himself to make those big kicks. And if that becomes an issue, then you're right. Maybe they will continue to look around. I will add that they did try to re-sign Cade York to the practice squad. I got a little pushback on a show yesterday about that, but they did. They tried to add Cade York back. He opted for greener pastures. And then the running back.
Mary Kay, before you do running back, I just wanted one other thing on kicker. Why did they not? Do you have any idea? I don't know if you asked this, but why? What's Robbie Gould? I know he's 38, but the guy was 8 for 8 in the playoffs last year. He's never missed a kick in the postseason. Why is it that the Browns didn't go after him? Do we have any idea?
I don't really know the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't really know why they did not do
Fair
that.
enough.
For whatever reason, they felt Dustin Hopkins was their best option right now. And I would have to dig into that a little bit more to find out the definitive answer on that. We actually did ask Catherine Raich, the assistant general manager, that yesterday when we had her at the stadium, but we didn't get any, sort of secret reason why that went down the way it did. But hopefully for them, that Dustin will come through for them at whatever distance he needs to. As far as running back is concerned, I've said this, I've been writing this for a couple of weeks, that right now Nick Chubb is their only sure thing at running back. and he is supposed to get more involved on third down and catching passes out of the backfield and doing all those kinds of things. But you cannot have him on the field for every single play. You have to give him, you have to spell him every once in a while, and you don't necessarily want him, having to pick up blitzes all the time and doing some of those things that you have to do on third down. So hopefully for them and for him that Jerome Ford is ready to come through, but he missed most of practice, didn't get an opportunity to prove that he can do all the things that they want him to do. Now they've got Pierre Strong Jr. trying to get up to speed, but that's going to be he's got to be a quick study to be able to do what he's going to need to be able to do. And then Jerome also will be returning kicks. So, I do think it's something to.
Mary Kay, you're the best. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Mary Kay.
Thank you for taking the time.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
Bye, Mary Kay. She does obviously an amazing job covering the Browns. Great insight from her. By the way,
she'll be joining us every week.
Right. Oh, I should have said that earlier.
Every week for the rest of football season, Mary Kay will be on with us.
What day is she going to be on during this?
Thursdays.
Every Thursday, Mary Kay. It's great coup for us to have her on every week. We'll say, Anthony, let's save the 32 for after the game at this point because we only got a couple of minutes, and we'll see how long the game takes. But I do want to say this one thing. I guarantee, mark this down. Mark the time of the show. Mark the moment. There will come a moment early in the season where Jay Crawford complains that Nick Chubb is getting the ball too much and has no help. I guarantee it.
11:55 on September
year
1st.
Last year. I could kind of put G in that category too.
No.
But not
listen,
as bad as Jay.
I want him on the field at all times.
I'm telling you, Jay will complain at some point that he's getting the ball too much and he needs help.
That's what he lifting weights for in the offseason. If he got to take, if he got to take a little breather or whatever the case may be, it better not be by the goal line.
Yeah.
I need all that.
I'm curious to see. He's been on a touch count, really, because it's been carries for the most part. Very few.
I don't believe it's not been a strict number.
Not a strict, but they've been
They're
cautious about. But I'm curious
it's
now.
18, that mythical number is 18. I figured that out. And I talked to the people in the analytics department. I got him to snitch on himself, and that's from Nathan Zagurish. I fooled you.
Yeah,
Nathan.
because guys tend to not do as well after a certain amount of carries.
Well, what I'm curious now is if Nick Chubb is more involved in the passing game, like all reports indicate, is that 18 touches? Is that 18 carries? If he has 4 catches, is it 14 carries? Where's the line now between carries plus receptions to where they're going to be cautious about using him too often?
Who knows? I mean,
you didn't think of that yet?
I think it's blown out of proportion.
I didn't.
I don't think Kevin Stefanski is sitting there thinking about exactly how many carries he has during a game.
Not true. I did it in a video. Kevin Stefanski is caught on NFL Network saying, "Hey, coach, how many carries did Nick have so far?" Yeah, he's asking throughout the game, "How many carries does Nick have so far?" Caught it. It was on the top 100 players. They got to Nick Chubb.
Oh, really?
I was watching it.
That's a disgrace.
Was that last year or this year?
This was 2 years ago.
2 years ago? I got to find that clip. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that's a disgrace.
I got it. You can check it. I'll send it to you. I'll put it in one of my videos.
That's a terrible job by the Browns. I had not heard that.
I had not either.
Listen.
Oh,
you know, I got a lot of time on my hands, and I don't sleep.
You got the receipts.
Well, and that's why I am curious. If it is 18 carries, then we got to be very. If he's going 19, that's very special.
It's not like he never went over.
No, I know, but I'm saying if that's the number they have marked, anything over 18 has to be. We need to be careful. Is that going to be 18 touches now? Is that 4 catches, 14 carries?
That's a crazy, because here's the way I'm thinking about it. They do a lot of design runs. Like, Stefanski's doing design runs with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? Like, these are design runs. So if he's saying, okay, well, we only want Nick Chubb to have 18, are they saying we're going to give Deshaun 3 and we're going to give Elijah Moore 2?
I got to think that's going out the window this year. Otherwise, they would have brought in another veteran running back.
I do too. I do tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason, maybe I'm wrong, because obviously I didn't think that was the case 2 years ago, and they were doing that.
And I wonder too if part of keeping Nick Chubb fresh was his
prime for the run when the team was where they
and because frankly, he may not have trusted the quarterback he had at the time as much as he does Deshaun Watson.
Right.
So hey, if we're going to win games late in the season, I need Nick Chubb at 100% capacity.
There's no way
down
you could
the
have
stretch.
him on some sort of limit, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter you're trying to run out the game, and you're bringing in Jerome Ford. I mean, you can't do that.
So we'll see. I know Anthony has a read and an announcement to make. Hopefully Becker came through. Ant, you want to take it away?
Yeah, guys, before we get into No Offense Riders, I just want to remind everybody that you can buy your own membership for $4.99 a month or $1.99 a month. $4.99 a month will get you access to overtime. It's your coach's tier. $1.99 will get you access to all the emojis. Once again, Earl and I are still waiting for our emojis. But there has been a bunch of membership gifting today. Halim Youssef has gifted 5. Brett Watson gifted 1, and then our very own Steve Becker gifted 10 memberships.
Nice.
And that's going to be a thing throughout the whole rest of the football season. A couple of us are going to pay back for you guys and gift you memberships. So shout out to Steve for doing that. That's our first batch coming out in September.
Now, we do have to acknowledge that our in-studio captain, Mike Lucas, just dropping the ball
that was terrible.
awfully in the Mary Kay interview. Not only did you ask a question that G. Bush had already asked, I think that's the second or third time that's happened on the show.
Not with
First
me.
time by you, but it's the second or third time it's happened.
Can I tell you what was going on, by the way?
No.
Do you want the honest reality of what was going on?
You should know that you shouldn't be. And G was doing it too, to be fair. You guys were both on your phones during that interview. It was inappropriate.
Anthony,
there was a very legitimate reason.
Anthony, was I texting you about? Was I not texting you about a graphic for something?
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
We're in the middle of an interview.
A very
It was
graphic
okay.
that we
Listen,
had to
listen.
take care of.
I will tell you guys.
By the way,
this.
you called him Marquise Godwin. Stop calling him Godwin. It's Goodwin.
Well, that's double bad job out of me. But
Yeah.
when Mary Kay comes on, part of her agreement is we have to put Cleveland.com's Mary Kay Cabot.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony, I forgot to mention that to this morning. Anthony just had Mary Kay Cabot join UCSS. I was texting him, please add Cleveland.com's Mary Kay Cabot to the Super, which if you go back and listen during G's interview, or G's question, the Super changed back to your Watching Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show,
Fair.
then updated to
That-
Cleveland.com's Mary Kay
you
Cabot.
still dropped the
bad
ball.
job out of me.
That's a bad
Hand
job
up,
out of you.
I admit, bad job out of me, but
All
I
right,
was
enough ripping Mike for
actually
now.
trying to help Anthony out
Let's
from out
get
here.
defense riders here.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
We've
let's
done
do
this
it
in
here,
a while.
guys. We haven't done fence riders in a
Did
very long time.
everybody respond?
No. Did most people respond? Yes.
Who did not respond?
Mr. COVID.
Well.
I have my headphones half off, so I didn't hear what Mike said there.
Go
But we'll
ahead.
get into question number 1 here.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready? Will Deshaun Watson account for more total touchdowns than Lamar Jackson? This is one of our few unanimous answers here, Steve. Sorry, Steve and I were a little out of sync there. But this is one of our few unanimous answers. McNuggets, Bull, Brad, Jason, G, Tyvis, and Earl all said yes.
We'll keep it quick. Who wants to start? I have my reasoning.
Some of this is us being homers. I looked at it from the perspective of I don't have any faith that Lamar Jackson's going to play. I think it's more likely that I think their numbers in terms of total touchdowns will be probably, if they both played the full season, would probably be close, but I would lean towards Watson. So I was already leaning that way. And I think, well, who's more likely to get hurt? It's Lamar Jackson. So that made it pretty easy.
Nah, this is easy for me. Because I'm just going to start saying this. I don't know why we're doing all this prefacing. It's 2 weeks before the season. If I believe that Deshaun Watson is back to being Deshaun Watson, he's just better than Lamar Jackson. Let's just be clear.
I agree.
Totally
Totally agree.
But Lamar's going to still get a lot of rushing touchdowns.
He's going to get some touchdowns,
Yeah.
but I feel he's better. He has a better arm. He's not as good, dynamic of a runner, but they're going to run some too. And Deshaun Watson is mobile.
Yeah.
So I just think he's better than Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
and I think he's going to get more touchdowns.
In Watson's last 3 years as a starter, his total touchdown, this question was total touchdowns, 31, 33, 36. Lamar Jackson's 3 years as a starter, 33, 19, 20. Now, injuries obviously played a major role in
Right.
in
And
Lamar's
that played
last
a
2
major
years.
role in my decision.
And
But
also
even
why
if
I
I-
went.
even
But
if
take
you
injuries
guarantee-
out, I
Yeah.
still go Watson because I don't buy into. I'm talking myself more into the Steelers and talking myself out of the Ravens day by day here.
Yeah.
I don't like their receivers. I don't trust the fact that OBJ and Bateman and all these guys they have outside of Zay Flowers can stay healthy. I don't trust the Todd Monken offense. He's coming from college back to the pros. Who knows what that's going
Plus,
to look
I
like?
don't buy you can.
And I just don't.
Lamar Jackson is who he is. You can't
Exactly.
make him a different type of quarterback.
Exactly. And I
just
think
don't
his
buy that.
MVP season is one of the single
It's an
greatest
anomaly.
seasons
It's
in
an
the history of
anomaly.
the NFL.
Yeah.
That is not who Lamar Jackson is. That was the outlier, just like Cam Newton's MVP
Lamar
season.
Jackson's really good. Deshaun Watson's better. It's that simple. Plus, he's more injury prone.
Yes.
Lamar, so it's an easy
All on the
answer.
same side.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We did have 2 unanimous answers. That was one of them.
Okay.
The next couple are not.
That was. So question number 2 is, will Nick Chubb score at least 15 total touchdowns?
This was the toughest one for me. I went back and forth on this one a few times.
And I think it was
So-
pretty split.
Our yes is Bull, Jason, and G, and our no is McNuggets, Brad, Tyvis, and Earl.
You guys can start first. Tell me why the
Where's
answer is
Earl?
yes.
We need an Earl.
Earl texted us. I called him this morning. He didn't answer. I called him. I wanted him to be involved, but we got to add his picture.
We got to add an Earl.
Yeah,
pick.
bad job out of me. I was very behind this morning on everything, so I did not add his headshot in.
Earl's headshot should be Donovan Mitchell.
So Earl's headshot
Or DPJ.
So Earl's headshot is Brad, right?
Yeah, Earl, in a way, yeah. But Brad did answer. No, Brad still answers.
That's funny. Okay.
Go ahead.
You guys said yes. Why yes?
Go ahead, G.
Well, because we just talked about it. They did not get another back. They didn't really go out and get a veteran one that's going to take up some of these snaps or carries. So when I'm looking at Nick Chubb, he had 12 last year on a pitch count. This year, I think he's going to get more touches. He's going to be in the game more on third down, more in the game on goal line because Kareem Hunt was more of a goal line back. I think he's going to at least get an opportunity to get 15, playing against lighter boxes as well because Deshaun Watson can throw the ball. I say he gets 15 touchdowns because he's going to go up against an easier task this year.
The most touchdowns he's ever had in one season in his career total is 13.
Oh,
Never had 14, never 15. He's had 13 twice.
10, 8, 12, 9, 13.
Yeah, 13 is the most he's ever had in his career. Yeah. The Browns have more options than they've ever had in Nick Chubb's tenure in Cleveland of guys who can score, especially down in the red zone, where it has been the Nick Chubb show, even when he was splitting carries with Kareem Hunt. Now they have Deshaun Watson, who's mobile. You have Elijah Moore, who's their red zone Swiss Army knife. You have Amari Cooper, David Njoku, I'm expecting big things out of Cedric Tillman. I just think there are too many options to give one guy 15 touchdowns, even if Nick Chubb, the player, has the capability of scoring 17, 18, 19 touchdowns. He's that good.
Yeah.
I just think the Browns have too many options.
It's hard
to bet on
because
the
he's
over.
never done it. I think you're overstating the options. I'm not. Cedric Tillman as a rookie is a big red zone option.
Just an option to take away from let's just hand it to Nick Chubb.
I don't want to see Elijah Moore.
I don't think Elijah Moore's doing much in the goal line.
I want Nick Chubb to get the ball 5 times if they can in 4 downs.
Yeah, I mean, I do think. I do think there's going to be, just in general, and he has the capability of, forget the red zone, like busting out a 40-yard touchdown.
Any given time,
and with the smaller box, he is going to have those opportunities even more, I think. And it's tough. In the end, I'm probably wrong. You're probably
15's
right,
a lot. Like,
it's
15 is a lot. And Nick Chubb last year scored 13. He scored the one against the Jets when he shouldn't. He should have fell. Remember, he ended up scoring. Could have fell.
Yeah.
So, there's always one or two that could go either way.
But in fairness, the Browns' offense overall
should score way more
touchdowns than they ever have.
Totally.
So the
totally
total
agree.
numbers will go up. All right, next one, Anthony.
All right, so question 3, also typo in the graphic, hands up, my bad, I didn't double check it, but will 3 players on the Browns have at least 750 receiving yards? Brad, Jason, G, Tyvis, and Earl said yes, and no was McNuggets and Bull.
750 is a lot. How many teams have 3 guys with 750?
I did the research. I know the answer. It was 3 teams last year. Can you name the 3 real quick?
Cincinnati.
Correct.
Philly.
Incorrect. All 3 AFC teams.
Kansas City.
Incorrect.
Chargers.
Correct.
Oh. And not the Bills.
You got 5. 4 is great radio.
Dolphins.
3. No, Dolphins didn't have it.
They
had 2 crazy.
They had 2 crazy. It was the Jaguars. And
Yeah.
of those 3 teams, the third receiver had 766 yards, 762, and 752.
Yeah.
The third receiver.
Oh, you were with me on the only.
I'm on no.
Yeah.
The third receiver only, at most, had 16 yards over that threshold. It is so hard to spread the wealth that evenly.
Yeah.
And have guys be that productive. They have 4 or 5 guys on the roster who I think are capable of having 750 yards.
Yeah.
I just don't think capable equals realistic.
I think you'll have 2,
health.
and then I think between Elijah Moore, DPJ, and David Njoku, I think all 3 guys probably end up somewhere between 600 and 800, right? But I don't think 2 of those 3 get over 750 to me.
And G, stat for you. So 3 teams last year had 3 over 750. Last season, 18 teams, more than half the league, had 1,000, a 750, and over 500. But that 500 to 750 third guy, very few teams actually
especially
eclipse that
when you
threshold.
think about it. Okay, the 3 teams that did it were Cincinnati. Who the other 2?
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And the Chargers.
Okay, those are all pass first teams.
Yeah.
Now, maybe not Jacksonville. I don't know what their percentage was, but the Bengals and Chargers throw the ball a lot. And the Browns are going to throw the ball a lot, but probably not as high a percentage as the Bengals because they
still
got
have Nick Chubb. Yeah.
So if we're expecting Nick Chubb to have a monster season, which I think we all are, I'm just not, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's impossible, certainly, but
It's
750 is
a
hard
high
for a
number, yeah.
third receiver.
You said yeah. Why yes?
Well, look, because I think sometimes you look at it, you got Amari Cooper who will be open. He's going to get his 1,000. Now, if I look at the other guys, I could foresee a situation where you got a deep threat that may not get to targets, but he has a lot of yards because he's catching deep passes. Now, that may not fit Elijah Moore, but if you're looking at it like he's the fastest of the receivers, I think he's going to get 1,000. Where it comes down to
1,000?
Yeah, I think he's getting 1,000.
Wow.
Because here's what people don't realize. Even the year that Baker had in 2019, or is it 2020?
2020.
In 2020, that was when they went to the playoffs, right? What was Freddie Kitchens' year? 2019?
Yep.
Yeah.
2019, both Odell and Jarvis had over 1,000 yards. And nobody was like, people thought it was a crazy year. And then you go back and look, and you see that
They barely went over 1,000.
But then you look, and Nick Chubb had 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
So I don't know who, like you rounded up. I don't know if David Njoku had about 400 or 500. But my thing is, sometimes you can put numbers up, and it's kind of weird because they're like, wow, they had that many yards.
I just think,
And it's one extra game.
I hear you. I think in the end, the Browns have enough decent options. Like none of their pass catchers are great. Amari Cooper's very good, right? The rest of the guys to this point are just, nice players.
Yeah.
But I think Deshaun Watson is going to spread it around a lot between Moore and DPJ and Tillman and Goodwin and Njoku
and Chubb out the backfield.
That I don't think, I think there'll be a bunch of guys between 400 and 800. And it'll add up to a lot, but in the end, I can't see two of those guys getting over 750.
Who is okay? So out of that group of guys, who do you guys believe is the most? If they did do it at 750, who's most likely to have it out of the rest? I think Elijah Moore and
Njoku,
Amari Cooper and Moore are the ones I'm putting there. But I think Njoku is more likely to get to 750 than DPJ. Or Goodwin, or somebody else, or Tillman.
I'd actually flip that. I would put, if I was ranking who I think at the end of the season will lead the Browns in receiving yards, it's Cooper for me, and Njoku, then Moore. I'd go in that order. I think
that's interesting.
Sometimes there's so much hype around a player that it's a smokescreen. Like I'm going back to the NFL draft, and I can't think of a great example, but Team X loves this player. They love this, and they're just trying to get you to believe they love players, so some team trades up. And they move back. And this is not a knock on Elijah Moore whatsoever. But you hear all this stuff about Elijah Moore. Cincinnati's hearing the same stuff. Okay, we're going to put a little extra coverage on Elijah Moore. Guess who's open in the middle of the field? Njoku.
And teams are not making defensive decisions based on hype from media.
Not hype from media, but you hear, and they're looking at stuff. They used Elijah Moore in ways that we hadn't seen them use any offensive player in that system. Since the fantasy, am I wrong?
I think Elijah Moore or Njoku or DPJ, I think any of them could finish second. I think it's almost
just
an
for the sake
chance.
of this. So we all agree.
If
Cooper's
I had to
one.
pick, I'd pick Elijah Moore second on the team in yards. I think it's possible DPJ has more than him. I think it's possible Njoku has more than him. I just can't see two of those three guys getting over 750 yards. It's a lot.
It's
750 is more than you think.
It's 65 yards a game is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and Njoku, I don't know. That's hard. How many tight ends get more than 750 yards? There's not that many.
I'm buying, and I told y'all, I'm buying Jacksonville stock. I'm buying Njoku stock this year. I really think Njoku is poised for a monster season.
I drafted him as I looked at it, and I looked around the league at tight ends, and I think he's going to get more touches than Dalton Schultz. I think he's going to get more touches than George Kittle because he's injury prone, and they talk about spreading it around.
Yeah, but Njoku's been injury prone too.
Yeah.
Yes. I think if you look at it, you could honestly, legitimately say, if after you got Kelsey, Edwards, I don't know if you would put Darren Waller ahead of him because he's been injured so much.
Andrews, not Edwards.
Mark Andrews. Yeah. So after those two, I mean, I could see myself being like, all right, is Njoku fourth
I don't know about that. I mean, it's possible.
He could be. I mean, right now he's not.
I mean,
Hawkinson's above him right now.
Hawkinson, you could throw him.
I got him. I think on my, I make
Your fantasy spreadsheet.
fantasy spreadsheets. I'll tell you where I got him. I think I got him 9th amongst tight ends.
I have him higher on my personal rankings.
Well, but you're letting fandom get in the way, Mike.
No,
you can't do that.
I think I'm letting opportunity in the way.
I saw the way they used him in Kansas City. They put Elijah
I got
Moore.
him 10th.
You got him 10th.
I got Kelsey, tier 1.
By himself.
Tier 2, Mark Andrews, T.J. Hawkinson, Darren Waller. Now, Waller's injury prone.
Waller's the wild card, but if
But
he's
I
healthy,
go into it with, okay,
He's
I
getting drafted.
can't project injuries,
Yeah.
so what do you do?
I have
And
no
then
issues.
tier 3, Kittle, Goddard, Pitts, Ingram, Fryermuth, and then Njoku.
I think that David
And then
Njoku.
Dalton Kincaid, the rookie, right after that.
I agree with the
dudes,
tiers. Order
Yeah.
be damned, but tiers I'm right
But
there
the
with.
tiers, I'm with it. But I think that Njoku could be at the highest,
He
highest
could,
of that
sure.
top third tier.
He could, but those guys have more of a track record.
Yes.
And I think Kyle Pitts has the most upside of all the tight ends.
He also could be the
but he's on a team with
highest
a bad
risk,
quarterback
lowest
situation.
ceiling. Yeah.
I don't draft fantasy players. A tip: don't draft fantasy players with on teams with bad quarterbacks.
It's tough.
I stay away from.
Can I say one thing and we'll move on to
Yeah.
the next question?
Yeah.
Do you know how good of a feeling it is to have this discussion saying who could be the third receiver with 750 yards? And there's a lot of teams out there being like, do we really have one guy we're confident is going to have 750?
Well, I don't know if there's a lot of teams
There's a
that don't have one guy.
There's a couple.
You're
But
talking out your ass now.
Who on the Colts is going for 750 this year?
Michael Pittman.
With that quarterback? With Anthony Richardson?
Doesn't matter. You're going to get 750.
I'm just saying the fact that we're on the out of these guys, we're talking about two
I
or three
agree
guys
with
who
your
could be the
main
third.
point. You went too far with the last part of it.
Okay, maybe.
But
maybe.
yes, the Browns have had many years where you're like, they've got one guy that's good and everybody else sucks.
Is there a team out there that doesn't have like their starting receivers
The
don't
Giants.
have 800 yards?
The Giants' offensive receivers are terrible.
They didn't have. Not one of them had 800 yards.
Well, the Giants were completely
year, I
riddled
don't
by
think so.
injuries. Yeah, I don't think so.
That's almost impossible.
Look up the Colts. I look at the Giants.
The Colts, Michael Pittman had 1,000 yards, didn't he?
The Giants' leading receiver last year at 724.
Oh wow, that's bad.
They had 0 reach 750.
And they're a playoff team too.
And their second leading receiver, by the way, Slayton, who led the team, played 16 games. Richie James played 17. He had 569.
Wow, that's tough. I didn't think that was
Michael
possible.
Pittman did not have 1,000. He had 1,000 yards in 21. Last year
Yeah.
he had 925. He missed
Okay.
one game.
So those are two teams without 1,000 receiver.
There's more teams than you think that didn't have a 1,000
Wow,
yard
that's
receiver.
crazy.
Seven,
but you said 750, Mike. You didn't say 1,000 yards.
No, I know. I'm just saying. To G's point,
I was asking.
Yeah,
like,
he has a different
Is it
question
even
there.
possible that you can have a number one
Yeah.
receiver with under 800 yards or less?
I mean,
Yes.
it's unlikely, but yeah, the Giants, I can't think of another team that would have had. There's probably another team that had maybe a wide receiver
That's
that didn't get
crazy.
800 yards. I can't, maybe do.
Did the Chiefs have a Kelsey doesn't like an actual receiver?
Yeah, I think Juju had 800 yards.
He got
I
like
think.
900. He got 900.
stats.
900.
Look it up right now, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, and what are we up to? Number 4?
We got 3 more.
3 more. All right, we're
And
good.
I don't think the Ravens had one.
No, the Ravens did not.
Chiefs had 1, and Ravens last one we'll look up
Ravens didn't have one.
Juju had how many yards?
900. I bet you the
Yeah,
Falcons. I bet you the Falcons didn't have one either.
Drake London?
No.
No, he didn't have 1,000.
They didn't have 1,000.
Let's see. How many yards did Drake
Ravens had no receivers. Mark Andrews, tight end. No receivers over 500. Their leading receiver, Demarcus Robinson, who played 17 games, had 458.
That's crazy.
And
Drake
Falcons-
London had 866
Okay,
yards.
so they
last
did
year.
it. All right, that's
Yeah,
enough.
There you go. All right, number 4, Anthony.
All right, so number 4, guys. Will the Browns
My favorite question.
Will the Browns defensive line minus Myles Garrett record at least 27 combined sacks? This one's
That's
pretty split.
a lot, by the way, without not including your best player.
Is it
Well, how many sacks do you think Myles Garrett's going to have?
20?
22.
Okay, 22.
I'd say he's
How many
breaking
teams do you
record
think
this
had 48, 49 sacks last year? Only 2 or 3.
year. The Commanders,
not a lot.
Commanders and
7.
the Eagles.
The Eagles did.
Commanders, Eagles, and check me the 49ers too.
Before we get too far down, I'm going to give you guys the answers here. Yes is McNuggets, G, and Earl. No is Bull, Brad, Jason, and Tyvis.
So 47 sacks, is that a threshold?
No, because you said, well, you're saying 20. He's saying 22. You're saying 20.
So, yeah,
So we'll split the difference and go 21. So that's 48.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams had 48 sacks last year or more. including the Eagles, who had 70.
Yeah.
Right. And
The Chiefs had 55.
Two of those teams had exactly 48.
Correct.
So that's hard.
Yes, I have the numbers. I'll tell you exactly how
Yeah.
it's going to go. I did a little G. Bush last night. I looked in my crystal ball. What McNugget Damas?
Yeah.
Nostra McNuggets, whatever you want to say.
Nostra McNuggets.
What do you like better, McNugget Damas or Nostra McNuggets?
No, Nostra McNuggets.
Go ahead.
Is funny.
And I see Joe Burrow on his back. I see Lamar Jackson sacked, wiping dirt off his jersey. I see Zadarius Smith with 11 sacks.
By the
this
way,
season.
we've passed up on 3-4 pause opportunities today.
It's
including
because
a great one with Mary Kay.
It's because we're
Well,
maturing as a show. We're
Yeah,
maturing
yeah,
as a show.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got that memo.
Yeah.
I see Zadarius Smith with 11
Yeah.
sacks. I see Ogbo with 7.5. I see Dalvin Tomlinson with 3. Very modest. I see Shelby Harris with 2. No big deal. I see Mo Hurst with 4.5. And I see everyone else combined with 5. And when you add those numbers together, that gives me 33 sacks for players not named Myles Garrett.
That's a lot. You think you're going to get 19 sacks between Ogbo
Yes.
and
Yes.
I got him. I got it even higher. I got him. I got
do.
13 sacks for Zadarius Smith,
I thought I was being low, too. I thought I undershot this. To be
and
honest.
I got 7 sacks from Ogbo.
So you got 20 total.
20 total between them 3. Then you got in Tomlinson for 3 is definitely easy. I went 1.5 for Shelby Harris. I gave 1.5 for Elliott, and then I gave 1 for Hurst.
No, Hurst is. I would bet my
And then the rest got like
paycheck
6.
that Mo Hurst is more than 1 sack this year.
Yeah, you're right. That's kind of low.
Yeah. Come on.
How many sacks you got for Ogbo, the two of you?
I had 7.5.
I got 7.
You know he has 9.5 in his career, right?
Yes, and very limited playing time early in Houston.
And he's not gonna sniff a double team. They might
He
have
came-
a running back blocking
The
him.
second-
Last
half-
year he played every game and had 5 sacks.
The second half of last season, his pass rush win rate, which is one of the most important stats you could look at when you're evaluating
Doesn't
a pass
guarantee
rusher.
sacks, though.
No, but it proves he can beat guys, and now he's going one-on-one when the focus is on the other side of the line with Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett.
Right.
I'm confident. I mean, they were comfortable going into the season with Ogbo being the number 2 pass rusher
Yeah.
alongside Myles
But
Garrett. They added Zadarius
the
Smith.
point is, that's a high projection
Well,
for a guy who's never done
let me
it.
add one more thing to this. We
Yeah.
just talked about the Browns' offense with Nick Chubb potentially scoring 15 touchdowns. Bull said
Yeah.
15. With 4 to 5 options of potential 7,500-yard receivers.
Yeah.
We think they're going to score a lot of points, which means the other team's going to be in a ton of passing situations trying to catch up. More pass rush opportunities, better pass rushers all in all, more sacks for everybody. Bull, when one person eats, we all eat, man. If you're going to order a 20-pack of McNuggets, you ain't eating them all. You share them with the squad.
You're gonna
This
have
is
a
how
heart attack.
easy. Just call. Listen. So if Jay is Myles Garrett and Bull is Zadarius Smith, then I could be Ogbo. You see, if I was just trying to be out here by myself and trying to get these views, would I possibly have gone viral just on my own YouTube channel? It's a possibility.
You could have
but
won one AFC Defensive Player of the Week.
I could have.
Yeah.
I could have went viral, kinda, but nah. Since you on the show and Jay on the show, if I don't gotta do much, all I gotta have is one-liners. I don't gotta have no monologues. I ain't gotta lead. I come with my hottest stuff, and they be like, "Oh my God, this is fire! Too much is cold." So that turns in that little 5 sacks.
All right.
Now I got 10.
I like it.
And Jim Schwartz, historically, his teams have ranked in the upper echelon of the NFL year after year in total
Hey,
team
I think
sacks.
it's a high number. I was just under it, but I don't think it's impossible. I don't think you're crazy for picking the over.
Now,
All right.
do you have Myles Garrett? How many sacks you think he getting?
I got him with 20.
20. So
What's
same
the
as me.
record?
22.5.
Oh, he gonna get that.
I hope that would be cool if he's
That
going
would
for
be
it.
really
He gonna
cool.
get that.
All right, number 5, Anthony.
All right, so
Wait,
number
Anthony,
5.
I just thought so. Hold on. If he does it, it'd probably be against your boy Joe Burrow, your one true love in week 18. Is he gonna take it? Is he gonna take a bow like Brett Favre did for Strahan?
Joe Burrow's not my one true love. I like him a lot as a player, but let's not get carried away.
We have to have if he has 21.5 sacks going into week 18, we have to have a live stream on Bull for the whole game, like a live GoPro for the minute Myles Garrett sacks Joe Burrow, and we
because
can watch his soul leave his body on live TV.
That game is
gonna
that
mean
has
everything.
all the implications.
Yeah.
I feel like that game is like, okay, are you going to make the playoffs or not?
Could be.
That or the Jets game. Week 17 and Week 18, the schedule
huge.
could not have played out
Oh,
better for the Browns
that's
in terms of like entertainment value for the last 2
entertainment,
weeks.
yeah.
Let's get to number 5.
Two more.
Yeah, so number 5. Who will record their first career interception, Greg Newsome or Martin Emerson? Newsome was Jason Tyvis, and Emerson was McNuggets, Bull, Brad, G, and Earl.
Well, we know Earl has a man crush on Martin Emerson,
does,
which
yeah.
Totally valid. Martin Emerson's the coolest dude. When we talked to him at the softball game, elite person, awesome on the field. And as Jason said the other day, interception just might not be Newsome's thing. 1 in 5 years. I'm playing the
Well, Emerson didn't have any last year either.
Yeah, but he had a bunch in college. I was actually on the sidelines shooting the A&M Mississippi State game when Martin Emerson picked off a pass, ran back for a pick six. Do you know who he picked off, by the way?
No idea.
Kellen Mond.
He stinks.
So, who played for A&M for
was
seemed
there
like forever.
my entire career and the whole person before me's career at A&M.
Right.
So I was there. I've seen with my own eyes Martin Emerson pick off a pass, return it for a touchdown. I have yet to see Greg Newsome do that because his interception came at Northwestern, and frankly, no one watches Northwestern football. So I'm going with Martin Emerson.
Yeah.
Make me proud, Marty.
Yeah.
Martin Emerson is more aggressive than Greg Newsome. Not saying that like Greg Newsome is like soft batch cookies or anything.
Martin Emerson is him.
Oh, look at no cap. No cap.
Okay. By the way, did you see Deion Sanders getting into it with that clown Danny Cannell?
I did.
Danny Cannell. Sit this one out.
He's
now.
a troll. I mean, he's a certified troll.
He's a total clown.
What did he say?
Well, Deion, they talked to him about being a Seminole, and he was like, well, but he actually graduated college from some small school in Alabama. I can't think of the name of it. And so he brought this up at the press conference, but he was kind of joking about it. Like, oh, I'm not really a Seminole. I'm a whatever the school is. I can't think of what it's called. And so Danny Cannell was all triggered about this on Twitter, and he was like, that's disrespectful to Florida State. They retired your number. And like, dude, Danny Cannell, shut the hell up.
Come on, bro. like you why would you even get in that arena? You're not even in that level where you could be tweeting.
Cannell was a D1 quarterback.
No, Cannell started at Florida State.
Yeah, but he wasn't any good in the pros.
No, he was terrible.
Yeah. But Deion's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah,
I mean,
Deion's a GOAT.
Like,
Danny Cannell's a radio guy.
By the way, Deion was a pretty good baseball player too.
What
the guy
you
played
mean?
2 sports. He was an all-star in baseball.
He just pulled up. Going to the World Series.
You know what's crazy is around that time you had 3 players play both sports. You had Bo, you had Prime, and you had Brian Jordan. Remember him?
Brian Jordan played for the Atlanta Falcons.
Falcons and the Braves.
Wait, did they have Deion and Brian Jordan at the same time?
I don't think it was the same time.
That'd be crazy. They had 2 players simultaneously playing for both teams.
No,
by the way, you know what current NBA GM played both Major League Baseball and the NBA. He's a GM right now.
He's GM?
And he's a very well. What's that? Wait, one more. Yeah, that's right. We got he's a very well-known GM who recently changed teams in the last couple of years.
Elton Brand?
No. Older than that.
Kurt Rambis didn't play in MLB, did he?
No.
Danny Ainge?
Danny Ainge.
Okay.
Now G left me hanging.
There you go. And I was like,
Danny Ainge played for the Blue Jays and, of course, for the Celtics.
And
all right.
Yeah,
there you go.
Last one, Ant. What's up?
Anthony. Go
All
ahead.
right, guys. The last one in our much welcome back Fence Rider segment. Will the Cleveland Browns make the playoffs in 2023? Gentlemen, ladies, grab the Kool-Aid. We are a unanimous yes.
Everybody said yes.
For
you knew that
the Browns going to the playoffs. Browns winning the Super Bowl. We're going all the way.
I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl, but they could.
What do you think? So we're all in agreement to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
If the question was, will the Browns win the Super Bowl?
Would say no.
Would it all been unanimous no? Would anyone have picked yes? G?
I think Earl or G could have.
Earl has them losing in the AFC. Earl's put it on the record on this show, so I'm not saying anything he hasn't already said. He believes the Browns lose to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. They make the AFC Championship, lose to Kansas City.
Only way they could see this is, and I don't think they'll do it. The only way I would have them go to the Super Bowl is if they have home field advantage. And I don't think Kevin Stefanski is savvy enough to like push them. Like he'll be happy to be where they are, and they'll lose a game or something down the stretch and be like, "Why would you lose that game? You lost to this guy." Now they have to have home field advantage to me.
Here's the thing: when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, nobody had them going to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So if you're good enough to be a legit playoff team, which means you didn't get lucky because you were in a bad division, or
you're not the Jaguars
you're
last
the
year.
7 seed with a bad quarterback in a conference that's not that good. Well, that's not happening in this AFC. All 7 teams that make the playoffs in the AFC
are good.
Will have a legitimate chance to win to get to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Now, when I make predictions personally, I think to myself, if they played the season 100 times, what result would happen most often? Not oh, I got a hunch on this team, or I hope this happens. What would happen most often, and what most often would happen in my mind, is the Browns finish as the 6th seed in a wild card in the AFC, which means they don't get a home game, which means they play probably either Cincinnati or Buffalo in the first round, which is a very tough game on the road. Doesn't mean they couldn't win it. It just means it's tough, and the odds of getting to the Super Bowl as the 6th seed in this AFC are very slim. But certainly it is capable of happening. But if you say, is it? How could you pick anybody over the Chiefs right now in the AFC, realistically?
That's fair. We're going to do next week before the opening game of the season on Thursday our full predictions, superlatives, MVP picks. We're going to do all that. So I have the right to change what I'm going to say right now.
Yeah.
You have them as the 6th seed. I have them as the 5 seed. If the playoffs were to begin tomorrow, how I see it playing, I have them as the 5 seed.
All right. Very
G,
good.
where do you have them real quick before we move on?
5 seed would probably, how many wins you thinking that is?
10.
I think you got to win 11 games.
I think I have 10, 5, 10, 6, 10, 7.
And if you win 12 games, what's that?
One or
probably
two.
the division.
12 wins the AFC North this year.
Probably. I don't think it's a short. It could be a tiebreaker win of the division, but probably. If the Browns won 12 games, I think they'd have
that division is so tough. If you come out of that gauntlet playing 6 games against the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Ravens in totality, you go with 12 wins, you're winning the division. Plain and simple.
I think you have to be like 4-2 in the division.
Probably.
4-2.
Probably.
I got him fifth, 5th, somewhere around there.
Which is not home field advantage.
Which is not.
Fourth would be in the first round.
4th would be, but
Oh no, in the first, they need that.
Yeah.
Like if you win your division, you get a home game.
They need that home game. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They not. Like I said, I just don't. I don't see it.
All right. We got to do 32 and 32, but you got to read first.
Yeah, and before 32 and 32, guys, I want to remind you, it's September 1st. The Cleveland colder weather is coming around the corner, and you need new Browns hoodies. And there's no better place to get the Browns hoodies than at Fanatics. You can use our link, fanatics.com/UCSS. Some of the kickback goes to us, and we appreciate you supporting Fanatics and supporting the show.
Kickback sounds shady.
Yeah, it does.
Like we're doing something illegal.
It is very legal. I promise you.
Yeah, no, it's 100% legal, but
shady,
kickback's the only word I know.
By the way, it's funny that Anthony's talking about cold weather because it's supposed to be like 90 degrees for the next week.
Yeah, hey, listen, that whole...
But before you know it, the cold weather will be here.
It'll be 90 degrees outside, and I will have a hoodie on in the studio.
It's the hottest the world has ever been in like 200-300 years.
Yeah, we're killing the planet, but a much cheerier subject. Hey, Jim Schwartz is our defensive coordinator.
There he is. Sacks galore.
Yeah.
And he's number 4 on our 32 and 32
That's
list.
Insane.
I actually think
that
it's
is
perfect.
Insane.
It is the perfect placement for Jim Schwartz.
It is insane that you have
yes, I do.
Jim Schwartz more important than all his players except for Myles Garrett.
I do. Do you want to hear why?
Sure, go ahead.
Get it?
Last season, regardless of who was at quarterback, the offense wasn't the reason the Browns lost most of their games.
It was part of the reason they lost.
This
is being overstated.
The defense,
that's not that good.
The Browns' defense last year was simply not good. Their run defense was atrocious. Absolutely, unquestionably atrocious. And while I agree with you, Bull, it is players' job to win games.
Yeah.
It is a coach's job to accentuate what those players do and get the most out of them. And Jim Schwartz was brought in here to shore up a defensive scheme and get the most out of Myles Garrett, JOK, Ogbo, Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, Delpit, all the above. When I look at this Browns defense, exactly the same players they have. If Joe Woods was coordinator, G, I'd have some major question marks about this defense. I think at best, they could be pretty good. At best. You switch out Joe Woods with Jim Schwartz in this scheme with these players, I think the ceiling of this Browns defense is top 2-3 in the NFL. I truly do. And in that reasoning, with that in mind,
so
I believe Jim Schwartz, because of what he can do for these players, put them in the right positions, make JOK not look like a guy who DeQuell Jackson says, cut and send out, make Myles Garrett elevate his game from all-pro to Defensive Player of the Year, plus the other guys, he is that important to the Browns winning and losing games
Let me ask you a question here. Who was the defensive coordinator of the Eagles last year? Do you know?
Yeah, he's the new head coach in Arizona, Jonathan Gannon.
Gannon, right. Is their defense going down the toilet this year?
We'll see.
You think it's going to?
Good.
All depends on what they're running.
Yeah.
I think you're the idea that they got way better talent. There's no way we can compare.
That's true.
And I'm not a Joe Woods guy, obviously. But there's no way you can compare. I know people are going to do this. Look, we got Jim Schwartz. We're better on defense.
It is not apples to
That's
apples.
completely unfair. It's a way better
But
roster.
let me ask you this thing.
Yeah.
If this was the same exact players,
Yeah.
all the new additions, Darius
Yeah.
Thornhill and Joe Woods was the defensive coordinator, what's their ceiling?
I think not that much lower than with Jim Schwartz.
Would they be as aggressive?
I don't know what they'd be. Jim Schwartz doesn't blitz that much, so what do you mean by aggressive?
Gee, do you want to educate this man?
Educate me, will you?
So, Joe Woods, bless his heart. He's a defensive coordinator, and I've tried to, when I talk to Tyvis about this, when I look at defensive coordinators, I like aggressive coordinators. Now, you can be aggressive without blitzing. Those things are mutually exclusive, right? Blitzing, you're just bringing extra people, right? That could be considered aggressive, but the way you teach the system, the scheme, how you go about it. Sometimes, I'll give you an example. I used to play in high school. We played in a situation where the defensive ends would be outside the tackle, the tight end, kind of like in a wide nine. With that formation, nobody could run the ball. Like in high school, I was like 270 pounds. The other defense end was like 240 pounds, and we both were D1 athletes. So there wasn't really much you could really do. The next year, they decided to put us inside. They decided to put us inside the tackle and tight end, and then they wanted the linebackers to make plays. And I remember going to the coach and saying, why would you let linebackers try to make the plays where they've never shown you they can tackle somebody in the field anyway? I think we won a championship with me making the plays. Let me make the plays. Needless to say, that next year, my numbers went down, and we didn't win a championship. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, people don't understand is to be a coach, you have to put a person in, and sometimes you got to let go to let that player be that player. Myles Garrett has never, I repeat, never had a coach that said, Myles Garrett is the best defensive player we have. We need Myles Garrett to be unleashed and let him go run around and make plays. Lawrence Taylor didn't have somebody saying, stay in your gap. Reggie White didn't have somebody being like, hey, I want you to hold up people so linebackers can make plays. No. Buddy Ryan said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put more defensive linemen up there. We're going to come up with this thing called a 46, and Reggie White going to play anything he want to. That's what they're doing right now when you get a guy like Schwartz. Now you say Zadarius Smith. You angle yourself and you run right in the face mask of that tackle every play. Myles Garrett, line up wide and go do whatever you want to.
I know this is going to be taken the wrong way, but I'll say it anyway. Let's not make it seem like Jim Schwartz is the greatest defensive coordinator in the history of football. I think we're getting a little carried away. He's really good. I think it's a great hire. I think he's better than Joe Woods. I think he's going to do a great job. If he's the greatest coach in the history of the world, why didn't he have a job last year?
It's all about. It's not he to be the greatest. It's all about. You don't have to recreate the wheel to unlock something.
But this idea that if they had the same talent with Joe Woods, they'd be mediocre. But with Jim Schwartz, they're going to be the best defense in football. I mean, that's overstating. Let's not get carried away.
Because sometimes when you sit there and you talk about a scheme, you have coaches that refuse to get out of their own way. Sometimes just getting out of the way is an upgrade. Coaches come in and they teach you what they want you to do. Like A, B, C. I want you here, boom, boom. It's my system. And guess what?
So you think Schwartz is more important than every player on the team besides Watson and Garrett?
Well no. I think.
Well, he said no.
Well, here's the thing. I think he's important because that place that you guys wanted to get to with Myles Garrett, he's going to give you that. Everybody said, I want Myles Garrett to, just more. We got it. Yeah. You wanted to fix JOK, right? He's going to give you that.
Well, we hope. We don't know.
But that's why he's important, because he is the key to fixing a lot of the holes on this defense. Yes, they have better players. Totally agree with you. The defensive tackle position last year was an absolute abomination. They brought in defensive tackles who are competent. But it is Jim Schwartz's job to unlock the full potential of some of these guys.
Listen, I had Jim Schwartz high on my list.
Where'd you have him?
I think like top 10.
Watch him say 5. Watch him say 5.
It's going to be like 7.
Watch him say 5.
No, that's the wrong list.
Well, remember we did the day when Bull ran the 40?
I had him 10.
Yeah.
I had him 10. So, obviously Jim Schwartz is really important. But to me, to have him over only 2 players ahead of the defensive coordinator, to me that seems crazy.
And I'll give him a lot of credit for going out and identifying some of the guys who they needed in free agency. Let's be for real. Joe Woods had what he wanted, right? When Joe Woods said, I want this group of people, what did he go out and do? Got 5-6 safeties. Because we heard about the vaunted 3 safety look. And then he figured out, well, maybe they can't even run what I'm asking them to run. And then we figured out the defensive lineman was terrible up front.
I'm just saying, the only options there are a Jim Schwartz or Joe Woods. You could, like, if they had hired somebody else, whereas, like, the idea that Jim Schwartz is more important to this team than Nick Chubb to me is crazy.
Here's the other part of that thing that you're missing.
You would cut Nick Chubb before you'd fire Jim Schwartz. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not. But here's the other part.
That's what you're saying. You're saying he's more important.
Well,
you're saying Jim Schwartz is more important than Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I do actually believe that. But here's why. No.
Could you find a D coordinator
who's as good as Nick Chubb?
closer to Jim Schwartz than you could find a running back closer to Nick Chubb? Absolutely.
Probably. But here's what you're missing in this.
Yeah.
One of the main criticisms of Kevin Stefanski last year was he had no control of this team. He was so scatterbrained trying to help out Joe Woods on the defense.
There was no criticism of that. He was criticized for not being involved with the defense. What are you talking about? You can't switch it up now.
I don't. Jim, am I going crazy?
Jay complained about that all the time last year.
No, I think
you know where I'm going with this.
I think Kevin Stefanski. I had a problem with him because he kept Joe Woods.
Yeah,
I wasn't mad at him because he kept Prefect.
And now
guys keep bringing up Joe Woods. Joe Woods is irrelevant to the conversation.
But now with Jim Schwartz.
Yeah.
Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator. He's the head coach of the defense. All Kevin Stefanski has to do now is focus on game planning, making sure Deshaun Watson has what he likes, deciding to go for it on 4th down or not, when to punt, and doing what a head coach does best in Kevin Stefanski's role, which is call plays and make sure the team's ready. He doesn't worry about the defense anymore.
If they would have hired Brian Flores, they could have done the same thing.
Not necessarily.
Yes, they could have. He was doing that with Joe Woods. What are you talking about? He got more involved because the defense was terrible.
I think
Brian Flores is not Jim Schwartz, though. Like, yes, when we had this discussion before they signed Jim Schwartz.
Then why didn't Jim Schwartz have a job last year? If he's just the best ever,
that's up to
why didn't he have a job last
year? Do you believe that?
Why didn't he have a DC job?
Teresa Walker, who covers the Titans, who's going to come back on before week 3, told us he was essentially running the Titans defense last year, where they had the young DC who had the title. They didn't want him to come in and supplant him title-wise, so he was the defensive analyst. I forget the exact title.
Why didn't they just make him the DC and tell the young guy to beat it?
And sometimes, well, when you say, well, why, if he was so great, why would everybody else not have grabbed him? Well, maybe everybody else is dumb too.
Yeah.
It don't mean that. It don't mean that they smart.
Why doesn't Lou Adarumo have a head coaching job yet?
He's not a good head coach. I mean, Jim Schwartz was a bad head coach.
And he's a great defensive coordinator.
He is. I agree. This argument has turned stupid because I'm now trying to argue that he's not that great, which I think he is great.
You see what we did, G? That's called the alley, and G, what's the second back of that?
I just think he got him too high.
Hey,
that's all I'm saying.
When Bull met his wife, his lovely wife, I'm sure you didn't think, I wonder why this woman is single. You said, I'm going to take that. I'm glad she's single. Congratulations.
I love Jim Schwartz. I think he makes a huge difference.
That was good, G. That was good.
I think you're overstating the importance, to some degree. I would have him at 10 and not at 4.
I will give you this. I do have a problem putting people that don't play on the field higher than people who actually impact the game. In this case, I wouldn't have had him at 4. I had him somewhere between maybe 10 and 6. But I would have to have him on this list because I do think he's important.
I did, and I had him at 10. All right.
We got a few minutes for Steve. Is Jay here yet?
No, he's not here yet.
So we want to do schedule locks real quick?
No, we don't have time for that.
Let's talk some Guardians.
Let me talk about the Guardians here for a minute because obviously they haven't been worth watching. They did win their last 2. It's very interesting here. Yesterday they claimed 3 players on waivers, right? Lucas Giolito is a starting pitcher. Ronaldo Lopez, who's a relief pitcher, and Matt Moore, who's a relief pitcher. Now, I know some people are frustrated, like, well, if they were going to go for it, why didn't they just go for it at the end of July at the regular trade deadline? And why are they going for it now? Well, in the end, they did spend some money here. I'm honestly surprised the Guardians are willing to spend $3 million. They're spending $3 million for these guys to play 4 weeks for the team when they're a long shot to make the playoffs.
And they don't spend money.
I think according to FanGraphs, they have a 5% chance to make the playoffs.
That's probably high.
They're 5 games out. Now, the Twins should have blown away this division a while ago, and they haven't. So the Guardians think they got a shot. I'm not going to kill them for making these moves now. I like that they did it. They brought in Cole Calhoun, who I'm not excited about at all long term, but he's played well. They brought in Ramon Liriano, so they have added some veterans here. It's interesting to see if they can make a run and get to the playoffs. And very surprising that they claimed all three guys. Now, Giolito's been awful with the Angels. He was good, decent with the White Sox before that. But those are two really nice additions to the bullpen, a bullpen that's been a little shaky this year with two lefties. By the way, Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez become the first teammates in the history of baseball to go to 4 different teams together.
That's crazy.
Well, they were traded from the White Sox to the Angels.
But they were originally traded from the Nationals to
Chicago.
the White Sox.
Chicago.
Then the White Sox to the Angels together. And now the Angels, not traded together, but
that's
both
crazy.
playing by the same team.
You think Tito has something to do with this? You think Tito's like, look, man,
Give me a chance.
give me a shot.
Give me a chance to make the playoffs one last time.
And I think it almost went, because when you talked about him being, retiring, I said, this seems like he's hanging it up.
Yeah.
And I thought they think in their heart of hearts, it was like, well, we thought we at least had one more year in us. And he's like, no, this is it. And so they're like, well, we got to do something. We can't let him go out like that.
Yeah.
I actually think that is the only reason they made this move, because they are a franchise that we talked at length, at nauseum, about the fact that they don't spend a lot of money. It took them way too long to DFA Zunino because they didn't want to admit a $6 million mistake. But now they're going to pay $3 million for a month and a half for 3 guys.
Not even a month and a half. I mean,
for 4, I guess, really 5 weeks.
It's 5 weeks.
This has to be a – Tito told us he's not going to admit it out loud because he doesn't want all the fanfare that comes around with his retirement. It has to be a – Tito told us he's retiring. We owe it to Tito to try and do this, give him a shot. And it's such a low cost in the grand scheme of things because these guys – are under contract after this year, right?
Correct.
It's just pay $3 million up front to give him a shot.
Roughly $3
see what
between
he
the
can
three
do.
of them. By the way, interestingly, before we go to Jay, 2 former Guardians pitchers cleared waivers and did not get picked up. Carlos Carrasco, who was a fan favorite, and Mike Clevenger, who's pitching great. However, Clevenger's got off the field stuff, and he has a $4 million buyout that the Guardians were not going to pay. There was only 6 players claimed on waivers, and 3 by the Guardians, 2 by the Reds.
Is that, real quick before we get to Jay, is that little compared to most years? Is that normal? I have no idea what the normal waiver wire is.
So 2 years ago, it used to be in July was the trade deadline, but there was a second trade deadline at the end of August. And for a player to be traded, he had to first clear waivers. If he got claimed, the team, like the Angels, these guys, you got all these guys from the Angels. So in the past, the Angels would have the option to pull the guys back from waivers or trade them with the Guardians who claimed them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now now you can't do that anymore. So this is a lot for the Angels to put 6 legitimate players on waivers, and 5 of them got claimed is very unusual.
Okay.
So there you go. All right, let's bring in Jay Stevens. Talk some Buckeyes.
Before we do that,
Anthony,
I just want to remind everybody that we are doing stupid numbers this whole week, and to subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Today as well?
And if you really, today as well. Everybody's in there showing the support. The gifted memberships were fantastic.
We love you all.
Just don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about it. It's going to be great. We're going to the moon and back with this show. Yeah. And now, without further ado, Jay Stevens from Locked On Buckeyes.
What's up, Jay?
There he is.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, Jay. We are concerned about this Buckeye team because G. Bush says that the quarterbacks are all a bunch of slappies and they're not any good. Is that true or not?
Well, I don't think anybody can make that statement just yet because we don't know. We don't know exactly what to expect with the quarterbacks. I would love to say and come on here and be like, yeah, they're going to be great. We all know they're going to throw for 400 yards a game, matter if it's McCord or Devin Brown. We really don't know. We don't have a great sample size on McCord. Maybe a smaller sample size, a smaller time of seeing him play in Devin Brown. So McCord's going to start tomorrow. But for me to come out here and say, like, we don't know, we know what to expect, I don't think I can make that statement right now.
I will say this. The excitement level isn't there at quarterback because it's just the magnitude of what you had there. You could go all the way back and you start with Ryan Day. You can go back to Braxton Miller, and then you can keep, you can keep going after Braxton Miller. You have just all kind of quarterbacks. You have C.J. Stroud. You got Dwayne Haskins before him. Say Justin Fields before him. All these quarterbacks, and then you get to the quarterback class right now, and you're like, okay, we got Brown and we got Kyle McCord, and we've been hearing Kyle McCord's name as the backup for like 5 years. He gets his opportunity. I was
true.
I didn't like too much what I saw in the spring game. And it dawned on me. I'm like, they might take a step back this year. I don't know.
It's a thought, and I think it's a healthy thought to think like they might take a step back because you're kind of saying, I don't want to put the expectations on this quarterback and make them super high, or the way that Stroud played, or the way that Justin Fields played. I think the one guy that is very key to look at here is Dwayne Haskins. Ryan Day wasn't the head coach, but Ryan Day was there the year prior. There was a quarterback battle. Ultimately, Joe Burrow's hand got hurt, which set him back in that quarterback battle. Dwayne Haskins wins the job in 2018, and we got to see the guy that only had 1 year at Ohio State, really early in Ryan Day's tenure, got to play some really good football, broke records and things like that as quarterback. So from a core to be there for a while, that is true. I just don't know if I'm comfortable saying they're going to take a step back. I won't say you're going to get C.J. Stroud or Justin Fields like right away. I can't say that. But I have a belief in the guys. I just don't know how soon or how quickly these quarterbacks, either McCord or Brown, whichever one ultimately wins starting job, when they'll become their own and throw 4 touchdowns in back-to-back-to-back games. I don't know that yet, but it's tricky. This offseason, talking about the quarterback battle, honestly, it's been more exhausting than I thought it was going to be, because I wasn't expecting to go this long into the offseason, especially during week 1, to discuss, hey, we know the week 1 starter, we don't know the week 2 starter. It's really an odd quarterback situation at Ohio State right now.
Jay, the only question that matters here is Ohio State going to beat Indiana by 30, 40, or 50 on Saturday?
30, 40, or 50. That is the only true question there. The Hoosiers are bad and the Buckeyes are good. So you're thinking covering the spread? Great. That's cool. I do think it'll be a blowout. I won't put a number on it just yet, Mike, but I do think it'll be a blowout, though. The Buckeyes defense, I think the biggest thing tomorrow is going to be the defense is going to take a step forward and show that the guys that are returning are making the right steps forward to be better football players overall. Also, when you add in the guy in Sonny Styles who's going to start, who has the skill set that he has, that's going to be a wrinkle that the Hoosiers, who had their own quarterback battle between 2 guys that really aren't experienced, that could be something that messes them up as well. So a 30 or 40 or 50 point win, that is the only true question. How big is the Buckeyes blowout tomorrow?
The major question this season is not only, what are they going to do game 1, because they'll blow them out game 1. We looking at the Michigan Wolverines. And Michigan up front, one of the best offensive lines.
Yeah.
They got a couple top-notch running backs coming back. The quarterback is coming back. Talent-wise, a couple of years ago, I would have said that Ohio State is light years ahead of Michigan because of their skill positions and receivers. This year, I can't say that. I'm going to ask you, has Michigan caught Ohio State in terms of talent in the Big Ten?
Ooh, I got friends listening to this, and they're going to be like, Jay, you're crazy. I think that they have caught up with Ohio State, though. I do think talent-wise, you're looking at a team in Michigan. Now, the quarterback one's interesting because I am not the biggest J.J. McCarthy fan. However, when he needed to make plays a year ago against Ohio State, he made the plays. Yeah. A year ago, when I was saying, hey, Ohio State's D-line is up to the task to play Michigan, they were not up to that task. The Buckeyes' offensive line struggled at times during that game as well. This is back-to-back years where the Buckeyes have had issues with the Wolverines in the trenches. And we all know, if you want to win a game, it all starts with the O-line and D-line. If they play well, if they play up to the standard that has been set at Ohio State or even better, there's going to be a good chance that they're going to win not just the game against Michigan, but every game that they play in that schedule. And so I do think the talent gap has gotten so close, and even maybe Michigan has gotten above it. So Buckeye fans are like, wait a minute. Are we really going to go into a game against Michigan where the playing field is even, it's level with the talent that is there? I think so. I also want to believe that Ryan Day, we're going to see the Ryan Day from Georgia in that game, not the Ryan Day that we saw during other games with the aggressiveness and play calling or the intensity that he had on the sideline in the Georgia game. We didn't see it throughout other games. I would hope to say we're going to see that Ryan Day that game or all year long. We just don't know. So the talent thing is there, but also we have a coach in Ryan Day who I want to believe in, but we've really only seen that aggressiveness, that intensity in Ryan Day once in his tenure at Ohio State. So the talent thing is there. The talent gap is tighter. I do think Michigan has caught up with the talent that Ohio State has. I want to believe the Buckeyes will win the game in the fall. I know you didn't ask my prediction, but it's in my head right now. I can't make that prediction right now and say, yeah, Buckeyes beat the Wolverines November 25th. I got to see what this team's going to do against Penn State, against Notre Dame, on the road in Camp Randall before I make my final prediction about what's going to happen November 25th in Ann Arbor.
They only have 4 legit games and 3 are on the road.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Jay, Ohio State's turned out some unbelievable receivers over the last couple of years. Garrett Wilson, Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jiggle. It goes on and on. Marvin Harrison might be the best of all of them. What makes Marvin Harrison so special that even the other guys who have all blossomed in the NFL, or Jackson Smith and Jigba, first-round pick, that even they say, this dude's even better than we were? Like, what separates him from the great to, like, the elites?
So with Harrison Jr., I think it would be easy to say it's his work ethic. But all receivers work hard. Most elite receivers work hard. So I can't just say the work ethic, but I think it's the attention that he puts to working on the minor, even the smallest details of a route. And then once he figures out that small detail, he works on another, and he works on another, and he works on another. So it's not just his work ethic that puts him out there and makes him better, but also he's able to work on those minor details. It does also help that his dad is a Pro Football Hall of Famer. His dad did great things in the National Football League and at Syracuse as well. And so you have your dad who's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. That's one thing. That's only a small piece of the pie. It's not the whole thing, not the whole picture. It's just a very small thing. We see guys whose dads are Hall of Famers, not saying any names, they're nowhere close to being anywhere near an elite player in high school, in college, or in the pros, because that's a very small classification to fit into. So Harrison Jr., I think it's his work ethic, which is elite, but he's able to work on this minor details. You add in his elite body control, and I was at the game a year ago against Indiana, and I'm sitting here like, how in the world did he make that catch? But he constantly works on his body control in practice, doing different drills by himself or with his teammates and his coaches, and it shows why on the field he might be the best Ohio State receiver Ryan Day has ever coached.
Great stuff, Jay. We appreciate it, man. Enjoy the season. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks,
Yes,
Jay.
sir. Enjoyed it, guys.
Thank you, Jay.
All right, Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes. Guys, real quick before we wrap up the show, we will go to in overtime. We'll be answering your fan questions. Real quick, I got a list for you, but before we get to that list, let's go to Anthony.
Yeah, I want to remind everybody really quick that me, Mike, and Earl do a Behind the Glass podcast once a week. It varies from night to night, but it's a great time. We love doing it, and you go check out some behind-the-scenes stuff with me, Mike, and Earl.
By the way, USA Today, guys, they came up with a list. I think fans voted on this.
I love that.
10 best stadium foods. What stadiums have the foods? Voted by readers of USA Today. Okay. What 10 stadium? Is there any Cleveland team on the top? Remember, this is all stadiums. I don't think it includes like basketball arenas, but so any college football, any NFL, Major League Baseball. Did any of the Cleveland stadiums make it into the top 10?
Progressive Field has really good food. Really, really good food.
Have you been to a lot of stadiums?
Baseball stadiums? Yeah, I've been to 10.
Well, it's not just baseball.
No, I know, but I'm just of the 3 Cleveland
I would
ones.
say no.
Progressive is number 8 in
8?
the top 10.
I believe it.
Here's the top 10. Number 10, Coors Field. Anybody been there?
Have not been to Coors.
Denver, Colorado. Number 9, Nationals Park in D.C. I've been there. I don't remember it having outstanding food, but all right. Number 8, Progressive Field.
I've been there.
Number 7, Target Field in Minnesota. That's the new baseball stadium in Minnesota. I haven't been there. Number 6, Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona.
Is that the baseball stadium?
Baseball, yes.
Baseball?
Number 5, Lambeau Field, where the Packers play,
Really?
of course.
Would not have guessed that.
Would not have guessed that, right? Number 4, NRG Stadium in Houston. Have
I've
you
been there, yeah, and the food's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
They actually have Deshaun Watson has a cheesesteak company, Lefties.
Yeah.
They have one in there. It's actually really damn good cheesesteaks.
Really?
Really, really good.
By the way, what is the point, speaking of number 3, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, what is the point of having a Chick-fil-A in
If it's closed on
football
Sundays,
stadium?
well, they play the soccer games there and college games and stuff.
And
By the way, Cane's 7,000 times better than Chick-fil-A. Not even close. And KFC's better than Chick-fil-A also, and probably Popeyes. in my opinion.
you know, what can you really say that you got the best food if you're not trying a large sampler of what they have. Like people say, really good food. But
That's
if
fair.
you only,
Yeah, that's
if
a
you
good
only had a hot dog,
That's true. It's
how
hard.
do you know?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
You got to have like 6 things. And then,
Number 2, Citizens Bank Park in Philly. I've been there. That's where the Phillies play.
I've been there too. Good food.
And I've been to number 1. I'm sure you have too, Citi Field in Queens,
Very good.
which does have very
Very
excellent
good,
food. There you go. So Cleveland is represented, number 8 on the USA Today big board. Any quick final thoughts from anybody?
Just on Progressive Field, real quick. When
Yeah.
my buddy was here, we went to the baseball game with Earl Progressive.
When you didn't invite G
Yes,
and I?
just
Yes.
me, Earl, my friend.
Right.
We ate all around the stadium.
Yeah.
And that's what made me think, like, we had like 4 different things that were phenomenal.
Yeah.
The fried chicken in left field, delicious fried
had
chicken.
that.
It's like the Fat Rooster, I think it's called. Really, really good. And the crab rangoon nachos.
Well, the whole I'm not a big crab rangoon guy, but the whole what do they call it in right field with all the food places there? I can't remember what they call
The
it.
corner alley.
No,
the deck.
Deck, yeah.
No, the deck is separate. But anyway, there's a lot of great food.
They do a
choices.
great job. It's a really cool fan experience. at
Yeah.
Progressive Field.
They have Ohio City Burrito, I think, represented there, which I love.
do.
Go ahead.
Real quick, too, before we get too far away and wrap it up, I want to remind everybody that we do not have a show Monday. We will not be live Monday for Labor
Oh yeah,
Day.
that's right.
That is true.
What is Monday?
Monday's
Labor
Labor
Day.
Day.
Awesome.
Yeah, G, so don't show up.
Yeah. Enjoy your holiday. If you're not joining us on Overtime, where are you?
Is
Sign
this
up,
Friday?
be a member. If you're not joining us, have a great
today
holiday
Friday?
weekend. If you are joining us, we're doing fan questions next. Jay, I love you.
G just asked if it's Friday.